What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another installment here of Honest and Uneducated, the show where we talk about anything from movies, movie news, video games, comic books, collectibles, just all sorts of fun stuff like that. We got some good news topics here today that came in this week. We had that Venom trailer drop, third episode of Bad Batch. We're gonna do like a spoiler review at the end of that. We got our first look at the Snake Eyes upcoming like Origins movie, which I do gotta say it's kind of odd that they're starting off. They're taking like a page out of Marvel's book with this. Like they're starting off with an individual member of the GI Joe crew and doing a movie with them first, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if that's what they're intending on doing. I guess it would make sense if they're going to build up to GI Joe, but GI Joe has always been kind of the unit, so it is kind of strange. But we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. But joining me today is none other than Rick Metz himself. How you doing today, Rick?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Not too bad. Got some stuff talking about. We had some fun stuff happen on stream there that
Yeah.
no one really got to hear, but
Yeah. Well, that was the thing we were talking about. Some really cool stuff, actually.
yeah, it was a good show.
Yeah.
Like, not to toot my own horn or nothing, or your own horn, or jerk ourselves off, but it was a good show.
It wasn't bad.
It was a good show. But someone else who was a part of that show that you didn't hear at all, if you caught it, was John Knight. How you doing today, John?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I actually, as people can see, and you saw last night, I have a new little setup going on here. I'm trying to get my setup changed, and before I was having to move my mic and my camera every time I went to stream because I used my laptop, and now I've got it set up on my desktop, and so hopefully this will be a more permanent solution. Things will be a little more steady now.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, at least we know that this time we can hear you, because that's
Yeah.
what. If you caught the stream or we're trying to go find it and watch it again, I made it private, so I took it down because somehow like Streamlabs, I'm guessing, updated and it completely disabled the desktop audio here, which is where John is pulled in from. He's part of the desktop audio. Don't worry about the technical part, but John coming into the computer, you couldn't hear him, and since he got this new setup here. He was actually on camera and talking and showing stuff and like showed a hot toy and all this stuff, but it just sounded like that the whole time. So if you're listening to this on podcast, I just moved my mouth without actually speaking. So
I apologize in advance. I've got this light shining. Those that are watching on video, I've got a light shining directly above me in this room, so I got to figure out my lighting situation before the next episode. This is all a work in progress. You guys will get to take the journey with me as we get this straightened out over the next couple weeks.
You look very holy.
Yeah. Well, either way, for anybody watching though, you can see though you're all crisp now too, though, because you got the NVIDIA broadcast, with the little special effects on there. Rick's camera even looks better now too. Like I'm
off of my laptop and on the big boy that Rob helped me. I've never had a nice gaming rig before, and Rob was talking to me about it all last year. Like, you got to do it, you're gonna like it, and so finally bit the bullet and jumped in, and I've enjoyed it. It's awesome, it's great, but I don't think I've really dove into like how powerful they are and stuff until just recently. So I'm having fun with it.
Yeah, we still need to actually play some games on it. More so than anything.
Adjustment to keyboard and mouse is that's a steep learning curve.
Right. When you're used to the controller for shooting games, it's weird going straight to it. But starting off with like PoE or WoW.
So, yeah, I enjoyed that. It's me finding the time to actually get on and play that's become more of an issue.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's hard. I've been hauling ass on PoE though. I'm about to hit level 60. I
don't even know what that means.
That's crazy.
Well, 100's max level. Think about this, Rick. This is just crazy. I found out though. So 100's the max level, but to get from level 99 to 100, it's the same amount of XP as it was to get from level 1 to 99. So it's like you literally have to, just to get that one last level, you have to accumulate the same amount of XP that you just did to get to level 99.
Yeah, that's a little ridiculous.
Fucking insane, dude. Like, literally, like, I can't even fathom how, like, it's taken me.
It's a lot of work.
Like, I think my playtime on, let me actually pull it up here. What's my playtime on PoE right now?
Yeah, here's that way For every level, so like from level 98 to 99, does it take the same amount of XP as it does from 1 to 98? Does
I
it
don't know.
does it exponentially increase every level? Is that the grind?
I would assume, but I really don't know. I
Okay.
really don't know. But as you can see here, rather quickly, I got literally it's I'm at 70 hours played. I don't know if you can see it there, right there, 70.5 hours played.
For
And
comparison's sake, I'm at 2.
well, I'm at 70 hours played and I'm only level 60. Think about that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
now
that's
granted, I could be hauling ass a little bit more, and I could be playing a lot more too, but nevertheless, 70 hours of playtime, and I'm only
Good.
slightly
60.
halfway there. I don't even know if you consider it halfway there, if, like, 99 to
99's
100 is
halfway there.
I know, exactly, like, that's
Yeah.
halfway there, so, like, whew, crazy. Nevertheless, though, we got some stuff to talk about. Let's get into these topics here. But don't forget, guys, you can submit topics and questions to us to address on the show and whatnot here, assuming it's, on topic and whatnot, movies, movie news, collectibles, all that kind of stuff. But you can just email us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. And as I said off the top, this, if you don't always have time to watch the YouTube show, there's the audio only version that goes up. So you can find it on Spotify, iTunes, whatever you listen to podcasts on. So go just search Honest and Uneducated and subscribe to the podcast there. And then last but not least, every Wednesday, the collectible reviews. Been doing the hot toys primarily recently. So the most recent one I did here was the Force Awakens Kylo Ren. So that is up on the channel now. Everybody was getting in their Rise of Skywalker Kylo Rens, and I just recently got my Force Awakens Kylo Ren then. So I decided to do that one. It is the better of the Kylo Rens, in my opinion, so that's why I did it. So go check that out. It's a great figure. It looks good. And as you can see, it looks really good with Captain Phasma there. That's kind of why I got them. It's the only reason I got them, really, because they look good together. Nevertheless, though, let's get into these topics here. So the first topic that we're going to get in here is it's the Venom 2 trailer. Now correct me if I'm wrong, didn't this Venom 2 trailer just happen to come out like the day after we did the show? Like as
Oh, it came
always?
out the day that, we record the show Saturday or Sunday before, and it comes out Monday. It came out Monday, like a couple hours
Exactly.
after our show went up live, so yeah.
Yeah, so that seems to be like a going trend anymore. Is that like we do the
Yeah,
show and then Monday, all the like when the show
The cool
goes
shit
up,
drops.
yeah, all the good stuff comes out. Like it's
be on the lookout this coming Monday because something awesome's gonna happen.
well, there
Yes.
actually is. The Snake Eyes trailer drops Sunday, so we're not.
Oh,
That's
okay.
cool.
So we're not going to be able to talk about that.
That'll be cool.
But we will be talking about like the pictures and everything that came out. So hopefully it'll be cool, Rick. We don't know for sure yet.
I like Snake Eyes. I'm a sucker for him, so I'm a little biased.
I'm interested to see. There was a we'll talk about Snake Eyes in a little bit because I was going to before we blow our load on that topic. And we're not even there yet. So let's talk about this Venom 2 trailer though, because I think there's a good dichotomy between how me and Rick really liked the first Venom movie. It's not the greatest movie in the world. And John, I think you said you liked it, but you're not the biggest fan of the interaction and the interplay between Tom Hardy's, Eddie Brock character and the symbiote Venom himself. Not in the sense that you didn't really enjoy it in the movie. It's just not something you're used to, right? It's not the kind of like explain your side of it, and I want to elaborate further on the why I like it.
Yeah, so uh, for those that read the comics, my first introduction to Venom was Amazing Spider-Man 300, and those subsequent issues after there when Eddie Brock first gets the symbiote, and the symbiote wasn't like this like wisecracking like other entity. This wasn't this other character. It was the suit influenced the person that wore it. So while Peter was, still Peter when he was in the black suit slowly made him more aggressive and things like that. And Eddie being kind of a cocky, arrogant bastard kind of was more so when he had the symbiote. But the symbiote didn't really hold conversations with him and make wisecracking jokes and whatnot. So having that be the way they're playing it in the movies. Now I understand that over time the symbiote has developed into that in the comics, that now all the symbiotes kind of have their own personalities and things like that. So that's the way they've gone with the comics, and it makes sense that the movies are going to reflect what the comics do. But it's just not what I was used to. So it's different for me. I'm trying to get myself readjusted. I love Tom Hardy. I love his acting, and he was great in the first Venom, and the movie was fine. It was good. But like this, well, I mean, we'll get into it, but this trailer, like, what does Venom do in this trailer besides crack jokes? Like, that's where, like, if he's just comic relief, like, he in the comics, he was like this really terrifying when he first came out in the comics. He was this really terrifying, like, thing. I mean, he negated Peter's Spidey sense, so you never knew when he was coming. He seemed to be stronger and better at everything that Peter could do. And it was like Peter's ingenuity that saved the day for him against Venom. Because Venom clearly outpowered Peter, and he was more of a scary, like, entity. You didn't know where he was going to pop up, what was going to happen. And in this trailer, and I guess maybe a lot of the first Venom movie, like, he's the wisecracking, like, comic relief of the show, or of the movie. And so, obviously I can't say I'm not complaining. I am complaining a little bit, but I'm not upset with it. Like, I'm excited for this movie. I love, my God, they've got Woody Harrelson in it. It should be great. Woody Harrelson playing a psychotic. Anybody that's seen Natural Born Killers knows that Woody Harrelson can pull off the psychotic, crazy person pretty darn well. So I'm really excited for it. But yeah, that's kind of my thought process on it. Is I'm hoping that they get Venom back to being not just. It's fine if he wants to crack a joke here or there, but my God, to me, this whole trailer played like, besides this shot, played like Venom making jokes.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up the Natural Born Killers thing, because back when that movie came out, like, it was a little before my time, but I've heard that, like, if they were to ever make a, like, Venom or Carnage, like, based Spider-Man movie, that everybody fan casted Woody Harrelson way back then
As Carnage.
Oh yeah,
as Carnage. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's nice to see that
Cletus
come full
Cassidy.
circle.
Yeah, Cletus Cassidy. It was right there. Like, it was like, that's how you do it.
Yeah,
Right.
so I'm excited for the Woody Harrelson thing for sure.
Me
'cause I
too. I'm
love-
excited to see finally a live iteration of Carnage. Like, I've always kind of wanted that. Like, going back to, like, even like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies and like the Tobey Maguire ones and all that. And I'm glad that they're finally doing it in a time period where it'll be well done versus, like, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies or whatever. Obviously, like, Spider-Man 3 wasn't very good. So I think this one has a chance to be great. I hope it is.
I hope so.
It's funny. I feel like I need to go back and rewatch Spider-Man 3 and give it another
There's so much,
shot.
so much that goes on in that movie.
You don't need to give it another shot, dude.
I was there's another YouTuber out there just that posted a video that I somehow stumbled, probably because I was watching the Venom video, but I stumbled upon it, and like, it was his defense of Spider-Man 3. And so I felt like, well, maybe I'm not giving it a fair shake, but he's kind of I felt like he was kind of biased anyway, because he loved all the Sam Raimi stuff and thought all the movies had they have good characterization, but I think some of the dialogue in all those movies comes off very stilted.
Well,
A little bit.
I got news for you, dude. Okay, this is indefensible. You can't really correct this or defend it in any way, shape, or form. Okay, you can't.
The
you
hair.
can't defend this.
Emo Peter.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
No, it's just bad. All right, like, I don't.
And then the day
You
Yeah.
gonna cry?
It's just bad.
He's just like,
I don't
thinks
care.
he's so cool.
Yeah, I don't care what. You can defend the movie on any other level all you want.
It's like
This
It's like me at work.
is terrible.
I do that same thing.
And so is everything that has to do with Venom in that movie is also pretty bad.
Topher Grace was a horrible Eddie Brock.
So here's the thing with it though, like he was pointing out like some spots where like and he just showed the clip, like when Peter goes off at the bar and starts getting in the fight and Mary Jane comes up behind him and he's in that rage and he doesn't pay attention, he just turns around and hits her, knocks her to the ground. Like, man, he just seeing that 10-second clip that he showed of that, like it was like an emotional gut punch to me. And so I'm like, well, man, that's so anyway. But yeah, this right here, oh my god.
Ooh.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
How can he do that with a straight face?
I don't know.
Like, I don't care
how can you defend this movie? What? Oh,
I'm gonna send you the video after we're done, but yeah, you're right. But anyway, so yeah, Spider-Man 3.
The only good stuff, the Sandman stuff in that movie was good. I liked all that.
Yeah.
Like Thomas Hayden Church was great as Sandman. You cared about him, you know, with his like his daughter and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that was good stuff. That was all good.
I even like James Franco, to be honest. But
see, I didn't like the New Goblin stuff they did with him and his little flying snowboard and shit. Like there was just too much in that movie that was stupid. Like,
well, and that's because they forced Venom down Raimi's throat. Yeah, Raimi's original story was just going to be Sandman, and Avi Arad, the producer, came in and was like, "Yeah, fans want Venom. We can't wait on Venom anymore." So they forced Venom into the script. But
that's really not a defense, though, because like if that's fine, you just make a good movie with Venom. You know what I mean?
You remove Sandman?
No, just make a good movie with Venom. If they were going to force you to use Venom,
you're like, let's
do this. Job to make a good movie.
But what I've heard at least is that like they inserted Venom so late in the process, and they made them hit a certain production, like they had to be ready to go in theaters like 2 years after Spider-Man 2, so they were rushing anyway, and then they forced Venom into the script, and like they were literally writing the script as they're filming scenes like for that movie. So I don't know. Anyway, I just brought it up because I thought it was funny that we were talking about Spider-Man 3. But the one thing I will say is Tom Hardy, to me, physically, gives a much better impression of Eddie Brock and Venom than Topher Grace. I mean, Topher Grace, I understand why they chose Topher Grace, because they were trying to parallel the Peter Parker. They were trying to show how they were basically two sides of the same coin. But yeah, no, Eddie Brock's always been this muscle-bound
jerk.
Okay, yeah. So
yeah, they fixed his hair, thankfully.
Yeah, that was my biggest complaint was,
and I like the fact too that like in the comics, like Cletus Cassidy had to draw blood, and then that's what like kind of initiated the whole Carnage symbiote, and they kind of paid homage to that with like the lethal injection happening, and it goes into his bloodstream, and then boom, Carnage activates.
Cletus Cassidy.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my lisp kicking in.
Cletus
Cassidy. I'm channeling my inner Mike Tyson. Okay. The only thing that I really want though, dude, is they're teasing this whole like Spider-Man connectivity, but like Tom was that?
I've been hearing noises for the last
just like hit
seconds.
like a wall out here or something, so it was weird. Sorry, but the Tom Holland Spider-Man stuff's been being like kind of teased with Sony's like Spider-Verse with Morbius, and then even in this movie now, you saw a couple like scenes of someone actually holding a Daily Bugle newspaper.
Yeah, I saw that.
So like that actually is like a thing now. So they're really teasing the Spider-Man stuff in this stuff. I just want the Spider logo on Venom. That's all I want. Like I don't know why. It's just weird looking at him without it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
But would it in this continuity though? Wouldn't it not make sense? I mean, the reason it's on Venom in the previous continuity is because
not if he finds him now, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
My wife just popped in. Hi, babe.
This is their first cameo appearance on here.
It is.
Is this her first appearance on the?
We'd probably get more views if she came on camera more often.
She's been on
people to subscribe at work today.
Did you?
Hey, that works.
There it is. Every little bit counts.
And you saw my brother. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and Rick's brother popped in.
I do have a brother.
How was work? Good. All right, we'll see you in a little bit.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Captain America.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
I like it.
that'll work. Thank you.
Well, there you go.
Sorry
And there
for
she
the-
went.
Yeah, and there she goes. Sorry for the interruption. But no, it would. I always thought it'd be cool to introduce Tom Holland's Spider-Man into this, though, and they could explain it in a way that, like, here's the thing. Here's my pitch. Okay, you know how in the comics it happens, like Venom gets pissed off at fucking Eddie Brock, and then he like leaves him, right? So that you
They
do
break
that
up.
kind of story arc, and then he finds Peter, and then you do the black suit thing with Peter, and then when he leaves him to go back to Eddie because Peter rejects him, then that's what that explains it. Then that's the thing. Then he has the spider thing, and then he can do the web shooting out of his hands, and like then he gets the logo. You're done. Like it's that simple. If you do, but you do have to introduce it in that way.
Yeah, I was gonna
Like,
say. I mean, being
not
that
he just
hasn't met
has it.
Spider-Man yet. I don't.
Yeah, like not. I don't want him just to show up like in this shot. If he just had the logo on him for
It'd be cool.
no
to see,
reason, that'd be kind of stupid. Or if he sees a if he sees a a freaking YouTube video of Spider-Man swinging through the city, and it's just like, oh, I want the logo, like that. Yeah, that would be stupid. But
It'll be cool though if they did a black suit Tom Holland. Well, they already did like the stealth Spider-Man thing, but like I mean, like a true symbiote.
that was more of an homage to Spider-Man Noir, though. more
That's
so than-
exactly what it looked like. Too.
Yeah, more so than symbiote Spidey. But yeah, I see that's the thing too with I'm kind of the opposite of John with the whole duality.
I kind of
part.
like it.
I prefer it. It brings it brings more
Character and
it brings
humanity
more
to
it's a
Venom.
better dynamic than just like Eddie Brock being influenced by like because then you have to explore Eddie Brock a lot more. And it's like he's just a photographer. Like he's just a reporter.
But does Venom
Like,
actually have? I mean, what's Venom's character besides making wisecracking jokes? Like,
well, they explained it in the movie. The first one.
maybe I need to watch it. I only saw it the one time. Maybe I need to watch it again. I don't.
Yeah, like
It's
he's
good.
like the runt of the litter. Everyone makes fun of him. He's like he is the joke of the symbiotes.
Right. out of
So
all
he
the others,
uses
just, like,
honestly,
rage and
yeah, he uses humor as a defense mechanism, just like anybody.
kind of
else
like
would.
me.
Yeah, like so. I mean, they did explain it. Like it makes sense for him to act the way he does, and like maybe they play into the humor part more so than they need to. And like, not that every joke like works for like by any means, but I liked it all. Like, I think I don't know if the movie would have worked as well if it didn't have that dynamic between them. Because I just feel like you can do a lot more with having that dynamic in place than you would otherwise, especially without Spider-Man. In all honesty,
Well, and it gives you insight into Eddie's motivations that you otherwise don't get unless you're doing some weird like inner running monologue and stuff. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying like maybe I did say it's bad. I don't remember. But it's
you just said you were
it's
complaining. Not
different.
That it was
It's
bad.
different. It's different than what my introduction of the character was. So it's different than my because I have not kept. I'm mainly a DC guy as far as the comics go. I drop in on Marvel occasionally when big events happen and stuff. And Spider-Man, I go in and out of. And anymore, Venom's such a big character. Venom's his own thing in the Marvel world. He's not even really in the Spider-Man comics too much anymore. So I haven't kept up with Venom, so I don't, besides knowing the generalities of the character, I'm just not familiar with him in this being portrayed in this way. So that's the biggest thing for me is to get used to this different type of portrayal.
Yeah, I mean they've done so much with them too, like anymore, because like you had the whole Flash Thompson Agent Venom stuff, yeah. Then you had anti-Venom storyline come in. Then like most recently they have like the symbiote homeworld with like the first symbiote and like the god symbiote, and like they really expanded the whole symbiote thing. And like in comparison, this shit's pretty tame, like to what they're doing nowadays. Like so. I don't know, like, before we move on, do you ever see a world where they'll do any of that in this universe, like Anti-Venom and
It'd
the
be cool to see
symbiote homeworld
Anti-Venom.
and stuff?
I don't know about the home world. That goes pretty in depth, I feel like.
It could be
It
weird.
depend. Well,
Weird.
it depends.
It
Like
is weird.
if Sony and Marvel agree to keep Spider-Man in the MCU and Sony doesn't use Spider-Man in the Venomverse, then yeah, I totally think that Venom becomes this Venomverse they're creating with Morbius and everything else. I mean, the whole point of them creating this universe, I think, is to get to the point where the MCU is, where they can do some big crossover movie, and like doing Null, the god of the symbiotes, would be their version of Thanos, for lack of a better. I mean, they're not the same character. They don't want the same thing, but in terms of having a big kind of, in this case, cosmic baddie come for heroes or anti-heroes to team up and go up against, that Null would be a perfect, antagonist for that. So, yeah, I mean, if it continues this way, I definitely think we could get to that point.
Off topic a little bit, because my theory is that they are gonna bring Spider-Man back. And I think, like, if they're gonna do the team up, I think it's gonna be like Sinister Six, and that first movie is gonna be like Sinister Six. Like, when, like, their big team up movie, like, they're gonna the first movie that they have Spider-Man in the Sony world will be the Sinister Six movie, which I think will work great because 'cause they're gonna have all of the individual movies for Sinister Six out at that point. So then it's gonna be like this big thing, like, now Spider-Man's back, and, like, boom. I think
Right.
that would be cool,
Okay,
personally.
but how old is Tom Holland going to be by the time we get to that point?
Well,
Like,
his contract's over with the MCU, that like, after Multiverse
well,
of
his contract's
Madness.
up with Sony, right?
No, it's up with the MCU.
But not with Sony still has him in under contract for more movies?
No, like, it's just up, so, like, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Sony deal, like, for, like, Tom Holland's actual contract as Spider-Man is up after Multiverse of Madness. That's between
Yes.
either or. Like, he doesn't have
Yes.
anything withstanding with either company, so,
Yes.
like, at that point, Sony could just bring him in, or Marvel could re-up and go to Sony and be like, "Hey, we wanna make more." It's just kind of
See,
what
now,
falls in their court.
I personally think Sony needs to just take the money from the MCU, from Marvel, and just be like, "Here, you guys run with Tom Holland as long as you want," and just cast their own Peter Parker and have two
Would
Peter
you rather do
Parkers
that
at
or
the same time.
Miles or something? Or
Yeah.
Spider-Man 29, some, Miguel.
Miguel.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down for that. I'm down for another version of Spider-Man. I mean, that's the whole thing about Into the Spider-Verse, right? Anybody can be
Mhm.
Spider-Man. Anybody can be under the mask, and so yeah, that would make perfect sense. I hadn't thought of that. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see him go that route, but for some reason, like, they haven't yet, and I don't know why. Like, you have the rights to Spider-Man.
I think it's because of the withstanding current deal with Marvel is that they don't want another live action Spider-Man. Kinda like, for the longest time, DC didn't want a live action Batman on TV because
Yeah.
they didn't want the same with Superman. They didn't want
Yeah.
it to conflict with what they were doing in the movies.
People are stupid. They'll get confused.
Right.
Wait a minute, that's not the Batman that was on
Yeah.
TV. Well, hold on a second here.
I
Hey,
don't know
come in
if
here,
that's
Emma.
it, though. I don't know if that's
Look,
the
look at these
only
two
thing.
Batman. These two Batman ain't the same.
Yeah,
I'm confused.
I think we know everyone's past that now, but I think it was more, at least in my head canon, and I know this has to be part of it. It's just that it cheapens the character. If you have Batman here and Batman there and Batman, the
Have you
want
seen
for
the amount of
Batman
crap that
gets
they
smaller.
put Batman's image on in the marketplace? Like,
Oh, I agree. It's stupid,
like
but
the
I get
idea
it
that
from that
they could
standpoint.
somehow oversaturate a character is almost. I honestly think that movie execs think that they honestly think that we sound like what I was just saying. Like, they think we're dumb yokels that can't
Oh,
figure
yeah.
out that
True.
two different versions of a or whatever. Like, I honestly, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
no, I
it-
agree. Their logic behind it is it's never they don't give enough credit in any way, shape, or form. Like, because like
No.
even if you want to lean with the oversaturation aspect of it, it's like, well, you have to do it first to even know if that's going to be the cause and effect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like instead of just worrying about making a good movie or a good story or just doing whatever works best for the story, they worry about like confusion or oversaturation or whatever. But speaking of oversaturation, we're going to talk about that with the next article here too. So actually, that's a good segue out. We'll
Dovetail into that.
yeah, we'll just wrap this one up. So the question here is, guys, did you like the Venom 2 trailer? Because I liked the Venom 2 trailer. I thought it was pretty good. I would have liked to have seen more carnage, some more carnage. I would have liked to have seen that, but like Rick said, I do enjoy the cut hair, the wig at the end, the little teaser scene. I mean, the whole scene, the whole end scene with Woody Harrelson's character, it was terrible. It's like, "There's gonna be carnage." It was stupid, and he looked ridiculous. So I'm glad that he looks better now, and, like, Carnage actually looks cool for the few milliseconds we saw him, so I'm just hoping we get another trailer soon, and like, we get some more exposure of both Venom and Carnage, because I will agree with John in the fact that most of this trailer was just kind of Venom internal dialogue cracking jokes with Eddie, more so than any actual footage of the character himself. So, movie called Venom, and you barely got to see him. Same with the Carnage aspect. So, but let us know what you think about the Venom 2 trailer down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our next topic here keeps us in the Marvel universe in some aspects of it. We a lot of people out there who have been fan casting the Fantastic Four for the MCU. I think everyone unanimously has been wanting our boy John Krasinski and Emily Blunt to play Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman. I think it's unanimous. Everybody wants it in some capacity, or everybody's heard of it. You know, I think to some point there's probably some people out there who just assumed that's what was happening, more so than it just being a rumor, because so many people have talked about it, me being included. Because I love John Krasinski and I love Emily Blunt, so obviously the fact that John Krasinski used to be was in the running for Captain America, rather, it made sense, like, that Marvel likes to come back to the actors that they've, not interviewed, but auditioned for parts, but then maybe like Tom Hiddleston's Loki, for instance. He was auditioning for Thor, but they liked him so much that they gave him Loki instead. You know, they have a track record of, going back to the well of actors they've worked with in some capacity, even if it's in the audition stages. But, unfortunately, Emily Blunt, or maybe not unfortunately, maybe she's just fibbing a little bit, but nevertheless, she's apparently squashed all the rumors about the Fantastic Four and her and John being a part of it in any capacity, but we do know, obviously, if she was a part of it, if this discussion had happened with her and Kevin Feige, if they are, in fact, already cast as those characters, she wouldn't say. Like, she's not at liberty to say. So, in any way, she could just be just fibbing a
Throwing
little
you
bit.
off.
Yeah, she, whatever. But she does bring up a good point in here, because she goes on. She was on the Howard Stern show and she was talking to him, and she does bring up a point that I actually want to talk about a little bit later on after I get your guys' thoughts on this. But she goes on to say that she thinks the comic book kind of like superhero movie thing is exhausted. And before anybody gets up in arms about it, like, this is the oversaturation part. I think she has a very valid point in that statement. Now, I'll get into that more in a little bit, but I'm myself pretty disappointed in the fact that maybe they won't be, because I normally don't like to do fan casting stuff, primarily for this very reason. And this is one good reason, but for another reason is we don't know how they're writing these characters. Like, they could want younger people than them to be the Fantastic Four for all we know. Like, for whatever characters are actually writing on paper, John Krasinski and Emily Blunt might not work well for them at all. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to say if they're good castings for the picture of Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm that we have in our head, more so than what's on the page, because we haven't seen the page. So, but I will say, I have a feeling that Marvel themselves already knows and has their cast for the whole Fantastic Four. In my opinion, I think they already have that squared away. So I'll be interested to hear what you guys have to think. Rick, what are your thoughts about this? I know you're not the biggest like Fantastic Four fan, but you do
Well,
know who John Krasinski and Emily Blunt is. So
I
were
do.
you excited, at the prospect of them actually being those two characters, or where was your headspace at with this?
Well, on paper, it sounds good. But the thing about fan casting is, for me at least, is it sets you up for disappointment because you get this idea in your head that like John Krasinski would be a perfect Mr. Fantastic. Oh my gosh, that's who I want. And then it's not him. And you're like, oh, this movie might not be as good or something. And yes, they would like the picture of them would be great, but I think you bring up a great point when you say that like it may not work. You know, their version, Marvel's version of Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm, like you were saying, just it wouldn't work for John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. So while in my head, I'm like, yeah, that'd be pretty cool actually. From the little bit I do know, I don't know if it would work.
Yeah,
So
because like you don't know how they're gonna write the characters. You know,
yeah,
like you're envision like here's a good example. Go back to the year 2000. Hugh
long time.
Jackman's cast as Wolverine. Ain't nobody looked at Hugh Jackman and thought, "That's my Wolverine."
Yeah,
This 6-foot Broadway dude,
right.
like no one on earth
Great
thought that
singer.
was good.
Yeah,
Like, no one at all. No one at all. But then you
but he
see
was
the movie,
perfect.
yeah. Then you see the movie, and you're like, "Well, hot damn,
Yeah,
that was
right,
good shit."
right.
Like he's like the definitive Wolverine for most
That's who
people.
I think of when I think of Wolverine.
Yeah,
I don't even
exactly.
think of the comic book version anymore.
Right. Because it's either you think of, I would say, for most people, you either think of Hugh Jackman or you think of the '90s blue and yellow suit Wolverine.
Hey, bub.
It's one of those two.
Yeah.
Like, and that's it. So again, that's the whole problem, or not so much a problem. That's just what you run into with like kind of it's the same thing with Heath Ledger's Joker.
People didn't think that he'd be good.
No, everyone like was like, "Oh, the Brokeback Mountain guy," like blah blah,
Right.
and then like I think when they released that first promo picture of all black, like it was all you just saw his face and it was like this kind of angle, and you could see the scar and the red
Yeah.
lips on him.
It was like,
But
ooh,
you couldn't see
okay.
his hair. Like people kind of shut up a little bit, like looks cool, I guess.
Yeah.
But like no one gave it up until that trailer came out.
It was
Yeah,
good.
yeah, and then people were like,
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
maybe I'll give it a shot. And then we got the best Joker to date, still. That's
Of all
Oscar-winning
time,
performance.
maybe.
Yeah, potentially. We don't know yet. John, what do you think about this news of the Fantastic Four casting here? You disappointed? You not care? Do you agree with me that you think Marvel already has their cast for this anyway?
Oh, I definitely think Kevin Feige has his, for lack of a better way to put it, wish list or his ideal casting for it. I I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion either way. I know people fall in love. Like I love John Krasinski. I love Emily Blunt. Like they're great actors. If they take the roles, awesome. I mean, obviously they've got chemistry together. I think that would come through on the screen just fine. But there's nothing about them that inherently screams Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman to me. So like I don't know, like that, like I don't immediately go, oh yeah, well they have to, it has to be these two. Like if they get them, fine, but I'm not enthralled with them the way it seems like a lot of fans are. Um, they could hire some completely unknowns. It could work out well too. So we'll see. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. And obviously I agree with you that like even if they are cast, I don't think that she would be spilling the beans on it. Marvel is very methodical in the way they market these things and the way they release trailers and cast information and things of that nature. So very rarely, I can't, very rarely do I remember a time where a third party has broken some sort of big reveal about Marvel. So
Oh yeah, I can't remember any time that's happened, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna go through this one thing and talk about the oversaturation part in this quote she had here. Like she says, "It's not that it's beneath me. I loved Iron Man and I wanted to work with Robert Downey Jr." She explained when she was turning down the role of Black Widow in Iron Man 2. So for anybody out there who didn't know, she almost was Black Widow originally, and then ultimately went to Scarlett Johansson. She says it would have been amazing, but I don't know if superheroes are for me. They're not up my alley. I think it's been exhausted. We are inundated. It's not that it's only the movies, it's all the TV shows as well. And she goes on to say that it's not that she would ever play one or anything like that. It just has to be something cool and interesting and whatever. And she doesn't race to go see like superhero movies. They're just not for her. They're not like, it's not like she's not going to be hosting a YouTube show talking primarily about this stuff. Like if it's a cool character and she's good, someone thinks she'd be a good fit for the character and she likes the script, she'll do it for work. And that's pretty much where her interest dies. She's not really interested in beyond that. But I'm going to focus on this whole line here because this is what a lot of people have been focusing on too, where it says like, she says that she thinks it's been exhausted and that we've been inundated with like the superhero stuff. And frankly, she's not wrong. Like, dude, think of the CW shows alone. Okay? Like, how many do we got here? We got let's run through a list of just current superhero stuff, maybe within the last 5 years, even we'll say. So we had all the Netflix stuff, Marvel stuff. So Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, The Defenders, The Punisher. That's 6 already. Agents of Shield. You had the Runaways on Hulu. You had Hellstrom, that was on Hulu.
What about The Boys?
You have The Boys. You have, so that's 10 already. Then you have Umbrella Academy, Doom Patrol, The Flash, Arrow.
You're already oversaturating
Legends of
this
Tomorrow.
list.
What else we got? Batwoman. We have. I'm at. What am I at? 16, and this is all off the top of my head. This is just TV shows too. I'm not even talking. Marvel's had 20 some odd movies. DC's had like 10 movies. So we're at like 36, we'll say. Just estimating. You know what I mean? Like, and this is all within like recent years, within the last 5 years. You know what I mean? Like, she's not wrong to say that
the market's a little oversaturated.
We're definitely inundated with superhero content. Like, to us, it's glorious times. For the most part, because most of the stuff's good.
They're shoving it down your throat.
Well, here's all right. I get it. I get. I mean, as a fan of superheroes, I'm not even caught up on the current season of Supergirl. I'm not caught up on the Stargirl series, and both of which I would love to watch at some point. Like, there is so much content being produced right now. I'm having trouble keeping up. So I'll grant you that there's a lot of content being produced. But are we inundated? Are we inundated with comedies? Are we inundated with action movies? Are we inundated with sitcoms? Like, the idea that we're inundated is, or that it's exhausted. Have we exhausted sitcom television? Have we exhausted reality TV? Have we exhausted like? The market bears what the market bears, and if people want superhero shows, I mean, that's one thing about the current age that we live in. Everything and everyone is being segmented and compartmentalized, and so no longer do you have shows that get like 30 to 40 million viewers. Instead, you have superhero shows that get maybe 5 to 10 million viewers, but then you have reality TV shows that get 3 million viewers, and everything's it's much smaller viewership, but it's also a broader range of programs. And so I get the idea, but it seems kind of like trendy and just like, oh, they're an easy thing to pick on and say that there's too many of them because they happen to be the king of the hill right now. Like, I don't know. I think it's exactly. Thank you. I think that's kind of my, and it also I'm sure that this is taking her words maybe out of context, or out of not hearing the tone with which she was talking about and stuff, just taking the words and putting my own interpretation on them. This is probably not fair to her, but like, she's grouping this in with her comments about Black Widow, and my first thought is, well, thank God you weren't Black Widow, because if you feel it's exhausted and inundated now, would you have cut and run after the first Avengers movie? Would we have missed all the great character moments that we've gotten with Natasha over the course of all these films that she's been in? Would she as an actress just have been like, you know what, I've played this character a couple times, and I want to go do other things, like a lot of what we see actors and actresses do from time to time. And so I'm glad that she wasn't able to take that role, because I think we would have missed out on some really great moments.
Potentially.
and
That's a good point.
and and I also, I hope this isn't the case, but I hope she's not like bitter about not getting the role and seeing what it's done for Scarlett Johansson's career and how much of a, how much she is adored by fans. Not that Emily Blunt doesn't have a segment of fans, but I don't think Emily Blunt's fan base is, I don't think Emily Blunt gets the marketing opportunities that Scarlett Johansson does. And whether or not that's completely based off of what happened with the role of Black Widow, I'm sure that influences it some, and I hope that it's,
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to say that that's what it is, but I'm trying to think of like, why would she even comment on it? Why would she feel the need to say that, it's too much in an interview that she knows is going to go out to a public that right now seems to adore superhero items in movies and stuff. Like, Marvel is just getting started on TV and she's bashing the TV shows already. Like, I don't know. I take to hear somebody say that, it's like, I feel it puts me on the defensive as a superhero fan, because I'm also an old school superhero fan. So I went through the entire 80s when like the best superhero content we're getting outside of, the second Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. And, you bookended that decade with the second Superman movie with Christopher Reeve, which was spectacular, and Batman 89, which was spectacular. But everything in the middle, oh my God, it was a barren wasteland of just terrible mediocrity. And then you get to the 90s and it doesn't get much better. Like and the idea that they would ever put a superhero show on TV that wasn't, cheesy Bam Biff Pow Batman, like, was so far fetched. So, I wish people could just be happy that people are enjoying stuff and do things that make them happy without feeling the need to tear down or at least throw shade at stuff that they apparently say they don't care about.
I get that.
Right. I don't think I haven't watched the interview. I'm just reading the quotes, kind of like you said,
Sure.
the context in which this actually came up. So I feel like just as it's easy to say, like, she's, bad mouthing or whatever, like, people just say things off the cuff. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I
Sure.
mean? Like, she's
Yeah.
asked a question, she's just answering a question. Like we talked about the last week with Kevin Feige's just off the cuff comment about like Doctor Strange and WandaVision and like, oh, the white man will come and save the day. Like, he's just talking. Like, he's just a human being. Like, he's
Sure.
just saying what's on his mind. Just like not like he
Yeah,
put
and I
much
don't.
thought into the comment. Like, like, yeah.
And I'm trying to preface all this with like, like I said, I'm filtering all this through my own experiences, my own, love of the genre, and like I said, like, when I hear things like that, it puts me on the defensive. And so it could have been the most innocent comment in the world, and she could have meant nothing by it. Just that, she happened to just think like in that moment, maybe she had just gotten done like scrolling through Netflix or whatever and saw a ton of
Like,
superheroes.
damn,
Was
there's
like,
a lot of superhero
man, there's
stuff.
a lot of this stuff out here right now. And so it could have been, excuse me, a totally off the cuff comment that, she didn't have any real feeling about her. She wasn't trying to bash it. It's so, yeah. I mean, I give her the benefit of the doubt. I don't dislike her. I don't think that she's, a raving B word because she's, said this. I also feel like I need to point out all the counters to the idea that they're actually that we're actually inundated, and as if we need to have less of them.
Yeah. It's also too, just to say too, it's like being inundated with something isn't necessarily the same as like everyone always brings up like comic book fatigue. Like every other movie that comes out, like, is this gonna be the one where like no one cares? Is everyone gonna be,
Yeah.
fatigued on the comic book superhero genre? I don't think it's not a one-to-one thing to say. There's just a lot of superhero content and like there's comic book fatigue. And it's drastically different statements than like Marty Scorsese makes. You know what I mean? Like,
They're not
like
cinema. Yeah.
yeah, they're not cinema, they're ruining the industry and blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah. Like
This
those
is the
are
guy who made The Irishman.
yeah, among other things, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't like Martin
It's
Scorsese.
just the Irishman. No, like you didn't like the Irishman?
I sat there for like 3.5 hours, just like, is this over yet?
I didn't think it was all that exciting by any means. I didn't think it was bad, but it could have used a good 45 minutes cut out of it.
Yeah.
Like 1000%. It was way too long. It did not need to be that long, but I thought it was good elsewise. But nevertheless,
I'm just not a big fan of like mobster like kind of movies like that.
yeah, you wouldn't like Marty Scorsese movies, really.
That's what like
Yeah.
you're gonna get whacked.
Right.
You know.
But no, I can totally see where she's coming from and saying that, just because, like I said, in like a less than, what was it, 30 seconds, I got up to like 36 superhero shows. I love it though. The only thing I don't like
perfect for
though,
you.
and I don't want to see, exactly, like I said, these are like wondrous times for people like us. Like we got Disney coming out announcing 10 Star Wars shows and 10 Marvel shows, and then all the movies on top of it. This is like a wet dream for us. No, this is great.
That's one way to put it.
Like, keep them coming. I don't care. But my worry is like eventually, and this is what'll bring on the fatigue and like the bad stuff starts to happen, is when you get stuff like, and I'm not to throw shade like necessarily at this franchise, but it's a perfect example just by the way it was executed. But Jupiter's Legacy.
Legacy.
I almost said Ascending because it's just like that easy to say, like, whatever. But when stuff like Jupiter's Legacy comes out and you're sitting there watching it, like the whole vibe it gives off is just like, oh, it's another one of these superhero shows, and it's not. It doesn't live up to like, not that it's great to compare it to other things, but when you are inundated with the content, it's hard to not compare it to its peers. You know what I mean? It's like, is this show, does it live up to the same quality and standards of the MCU or the DC shows or the DC movies or this or that? It's like, why should I waste my time with this and not that? You know what I mean? So in like a fair comparison wise, like if I'm going to invest my time, why should I invest it watching the show? And when you like, I think I talked about it on stream, which you won't see because I had to take it down. But either way, it's like the show is good, but then it just fails at so much stuff. Like it's like it doesn't know what it wants to be. It tells like so many different stories. The fight scenes are terrible. Like the superhero aspects of it aren't even the best parts of it. And like that's not a good thing. And you know what I mean? Eventually, if it gets to a point where every other superhero genre based thing is a Jupiter's Ascending, that'll be the downfall for the genre. Like it's if Marvel starts to put out one good movie, then one bad movie, and then maybe another one's good, but then maybe two things are bad, and maybe the show's bad. So then like you get a run of like three bad things. It's like people are gonna be less interested. It's like they're just be like, well, why do I want to waste my time? Because kind of like a lot of the reason like people feel about DC right now. Because like they've been so disappointed with the stuff that comes out of DC as far as the movies go, because they've been like kind of popping off on TV. That's one thing that DC's had over Marvel for a long time now, is the television content. Granted, things are taking a much drastic turn with the MCU and Disney Plus because they're putting the money behind their television programming that DC was never able to do on the CW. Like, just couldn't happen. So that's my only worry, is that these wondrous times will come to an abrupt end because like people, a studio or something will put out a couple stinkers like in a row, and then people start to lose interest, and then we get less content out of it, because that's the fear for a fan like myself, where it's like I want studios to try to adapt things like Jupiter's Legacy. I want them to take the chance, like we need more stuff like that, because we don't just want like the big guns of Marvel and DC. We've had that stuff forever. So I want, if we didn't have studios taking a chance on these more obscure things, we wouldn't have Doom Patrol, we wouldn't have Umbrella Academy, we wouldn't have The Boys, wouldn't have Jupiter's Legacy, because there was some good stuff in Jupiter's Legacy, but overall it just didn't live up to everything else that's out right now. So
yeah,
that's my kind of fear, though, is like, and being inundated isn't necessarily the same as being fatigued, but I don't want the inundation to just occur like at the rate of like, well, now there's just a lot of bad shit out there too. So it's like we have a lot of it and a lot of it's bad. So now people stop caring,
Yeah.
So, but nevertheless, what do you guys think about this? Are you guys upset about, the whole like Emily Blunt squashing the rumors about the Fantastic Four casting? In the end, I kind of am, more so than anything. I totally agree and understand where she's coming from with saying that we definitely are inundated with superhero stuff right now, but thankfully, the majority of it all is a good watch. It's entertainable stuff. We have more wins than losses, and, like, my only worry is, like I said, when the wins and losses start to balance out or even the weights, tip the other way, that's when it'll become problematic, and I think a lot of the audience will stop caring. So hopefully that day will never come. But whatever you guys think, let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our next topic is taking us out of the DC. Really, it's not. We haven't even talked DC stuff yet. We're getting into that a little later. Taking us out of the comic book genre for the most part here, but still sort of in there because we got our first look at Henry Golding's Snake Eyes movie coming up here in a bit. We kind of talked about it a little bit off the top here, but we're going to get into it now. We got some pictures released here. We're going to have a trailer come out Sunday, like we mentioned earlier, so I'm excited to see that. I'm used to, like, I got to say up front, I've never been the biggest G.I. Joe fan. Like, I never was super into it as a kid. This was never really my thing. I liked Batman. That was my thing. I did the comic book stuff. That's where I've always been. Star Wars and comics. That's where I live. So I always thought like Snake Eyes and like Storm Shadow were cool looking, and I like the idea of like ninjas and stuff like that. So like, I was excited to see the GI Joe movies that came before, which were not very good. Joseph Gordon-Levitt played like Cobra Commander, did he not?
Yeah, that was weird as shit.
That's what I'm saying. Like those movies were not a good example. It was not a good first exposure for anybody, I would say. Not that was my first exposure to it. I had seen some like the cartoon stuff from back in the day, but it was just never really my thing.
Fun fact, one of the first dates I went on with a girl was that G.I. Joe Retaliation movie or whatever, and needless to say, the date didn't go very well.
The one with The Rock and Bruce Willis?
No, it was the first one. And I like dragged her too because I was like, I gotta see Snake Eyes. And that was really like the only thing. Like Ray Park as Snake Eyes was kind of cool, but
They didn't say anything.
yeah. But yeah, we went on that date, and afterwards it was like, yeah, this isn't going to work out.
Yeah, what I
Thank
thought
you,
was
G.I.
really
Joe.
stupid too is like Duke is supposed to be your main guy,
Right.
and they kill him off in the first scene.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't even in the first one, if I'm not mistaken. And then you bring him in.
It was Channing Tatum. I
Yeah.
think he was in the first one for, I don't remember.
No, I'm pretty sure they kill him off immediately. I might be remembering this wrong.
Well, because he wears that power suit with the Wayans dude and like running through the city and.
Dude, those movies I felt like they wanted to be like Fast and the Furious kind of
Right,
shit.
with like swords and guns.
Yeah, but that, and then and I think it is from Universal, so it actually makes sense. Like the same studio, but nevertheless, let's take a look at these pictures here and see what we got going on here. Because I think so far I like Henry Golding a lot, so I'm excited to see like this new take on it. I hope it's
Well, like I mentioned off camera,
something good.
Snake Eyes originally, like in the comics and this and that, he was a blonde-haired white guy, and I think this is a better take because he's a ninja, and it doesn't matter what color your skin is or any of that sort of stuff, but I think it's an interesting perspective and take on it of him being, Oriental. And,
They can definitely create a much more cohesive backstory for him.
that's what I'm saying, like versus in the G.I. Joe Retaliation, it was a little white kid when he was like training with Storm Shadow, and it just makes you question like, how did he get there? Like,
Yeah, speaking of Storm Shadow,
yeah,
there he is. What I find interesting about this too is that, which I kind of said at the very start of the video, or of the show, whatever you want to call it, is that they're doing this. This is called like Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins is the subtitle. Like Hobbs and Shaw was like, what was the subtitle for Hobbs and Shaw? Like Fast and Furious something.
this
Like,
movie's gonna stink.
yeah, it was okay. It was okay. But it seems like offhand that they're taking like a Marvel approach to this thing. Like they're setting up in like I'm curious if like
Yeah.
they're gonna do a
Like
Duke movie next.
yeah, or like a
you know,
Cobra Commander movie, or like
I don't know if they would do Cobra Commander though. He's a bad guy.
Roadblock, who
Yeah,
another main
that's what I'm
character.
saying. Yeah, I'm wondering if they do that or they do Snake Eyes because he's the coolest one, obviously.
Yeah, oh god, yeah, he's
And
cool as
you know,
shit.
what I mean, like no one cares about anything else. And then maybe they do like a,
I'd be cool with just Snake Eyes.
huh?
I said I'd just be cool with Snake Eyes. I mean,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Most people would, I think. Because, like, I think if you came out with, like, Duke, G.I. Joe Origins, nobody gonna care.
not as cool as like a ninja,
That's what I'm saying. No one's gonna care.
military dude versus an.
But But if you come out with like the next movie and it's like maybe like a G.I. Joe kind of esque, like it's like an initial team up movie. So yeah, you go into the next movie and you got like Duke and Roadblock and whoever else there, and they go on a mission, and then Snake Eyes comes in and like he's working the same thing, and then they all work together. You know what I mean? And then they get it
Yeah.
done. That'd be a nice way to introduce them, like, I don't know, in some capacity. I just, in the end, me not being someone who really cares too much about the franchise in general, like not like just from the movies, just like the overall property. Snake Eyes is the only thing I would be interested in. So
Right.
it's definitely a smart move for them to go with a Snake Eyes story. But they do have all these other characters in here, like they have Storm Shadow, they have Scarlet in here, and they have what's her name here, the Baroness in here.
Yeah.
So there's some people of lore here. There's just none of the you don't have your Duke or your Roadblock like
The
you
big
mentioned.
main
Like,
characters.
yeah, none of the big guns other than Snake Eyes, really, for the most part. Like I don't think Cobra Commander is gonna make an appearance, but I could totally see him being like an end tag.
Yeah.
Like you find out whatever Snake Eyes is going on,
It's
whatever
like,
whoever
there's
the
this new
bad guy
group
is,
called Cobra.
yeah, is working for him or something. So I don't know. John, were you ever a fan of the G.I. Joes growing up or
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah, man. One of my like back in the day, the G.I. Joe animated movie and the Transformers animated movie were two of the best things in the world when I was a kid. Like, I love those two animated movies. And I watched the G.I. Joe show. I never collected G.I. Joes. I had like maybe one or two. I had friends that had them. But I never collected them myself because was spending all my free money on Transformers and they were kind of popular at the same time. But I always thought they were cool. They had cool vehicles, they had cool weapons and stuff. And like Snake Eyes was Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, man. Those were the two like just dopest characters of the whole universe. So I'm super excited about this movie. I'm also excited because it looks like a martial arts film. Hopefully, knock on wood. I'm hoping that they stick with that. And I'm kind of having a little martial arts resurgence here. Like I used to love martial arts flicks, and they just haven't made a ton of them recently. And I watched one recently, The Swordsman, recently that just came out, and it was amazing and awesome. And so somebody just did a list too of like the best martial arts. Oh, it was in response to Mortal Kombat coming out. Somebody did a list of like the best martial arts films currently streaming and something. So I have a list of those that I'm trying to work my way through too. So, but yeah, I'm hoping that this just adds to the like kind of resurgence of martial arts films in cinema.
Right. I mean, we're gonna get some more coming out too. We got Shang-Chi coming.
Yep.
That seems very martial arts focused. So hopefully, I mean,
Mortal Kombat was pretty martial arts focused.
no, it wasn't.
It was,
It
see, like I'm afraid
No.
martial art. I'm afraid that was like going to kill it before it ever gets killed, before
Right.
it gets off the line or whatever it is, whatever the saying is.
The only thing they
Um,
focused on in the Mortal Kombat movie was the fatalities. Like the
Yeah.
fight scenes weren't good. They put all the emphasis on the fatalities.
Yeah,
It was quite strange. Like I mean, like we're not gonna get into a Mortal Kombat review again by any means, but
sure.
they didn't even have Mortal Kombat. Like
So,
that's the
but-
most
but-
annoying part.
But Mortal Kombat's a good benchmark, I think, for how good this film is. Because I think we mentioned it in our Mortal Kombat, or at least the second Mortal Kombat review, because I missed the first one. I said I had a lot of hope for we've come so far in filmmaking that they know how to do origin stories, they know how to do genre films now, and so I hope that they give this the weight that the story, the weight that it deserves, and have a good story to tell versus just building a story around a cool character and hoping that it all works out. Like, I'm
Mhm.
hoping they have a purpose to the story, a message that they're trying to tell, and they are able to tell it through this character, because I think that always translates better to a more enjoyable experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta have to have a good characters and good story, or it's just pointless. Like I hope this movie isn't just let's set up GI Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Like, I hope it's good. I hope it's a good movie on its own.
little thing I noticed.
So-
Oh, go ahead.
No, Rick, you go
This
because
is just
mine.
a
Mine
quick
can come
little
back.
thing. I was wondering originally if this ties into the old G.I. Joe movies, but if you look, the font for where it says G.I. Joe Origins, it's the same font, it's the same helmet from the second G.I. Joe movie. So, or it's very similar, I should say. So it makes me wonder, like,
If
does
they're
it,
just gonna try to like retcon
are they going to
like
make a Duke
a
movie that has
soft
Channing
reboot.
Tatum?
Yeah, a
Like,
soft reboot.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I should have let Rick go ahead of me because I was going to ask the exact same question.
Oh,
that was what I was getting ready to
the
say. Is
font.
like the one thing I'm curious about is if this ties into the two previous films. If they're somehow trying to expand the universe out from those two films, or if this is like a soft reboot of the entire franchise.
Well, a soft reboot would definitely be they could continue it on in some way, but like loosely. Like they could reference those events only in name, just to have
Yeah.
like that. Like if they want to reference, because well, how I don't know how you could though, because this is obviously an origin for Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
So what would you really reference from stuff that happened in the future? I don't know.
Unless they take elements like comments about their backstories that may have happened. Like I don't know the first two films well enough to even think of a situation that this could apply to, but like
Yeah.
if they reference something that happened in their past in one of those two movies and that event plays out in this movie, like
True.
that would be the only way they could tie it really into it. But then they have different actors and actresses playing parts that have already been played, correct? So
Yeah.
unless you're just saying they're the older versions, then that accounts for the discrepancy. But I think he said the article I think said the most recent one came out in 2013. I mean, we're 8 years removed from that. I think we're far enough away that it's time they could just do a hard reboot and we'd be fine.
Yeah, it could just be they're using the same font. I don't know. That's just something I noticed.
No, it's
Yeah.
true. I mean, it's a good catch. I mean, because it very well could be something that they want to piggyback off of the semi success that those movies had. 'Cause I don't think they did too
Yeah,
terrible
they
at the
didn't do
box
that
office.
bad.
They just weren't very good overall movies, more so than anything. Like again, they were all the bad parts about not fantastic, the Fast and Furious movies. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like all the over the top dumb stuff that happens. Like that's what was in those movies, and that was pretty much it.
And Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
I actually just pulled it up on my phone here because I wanted to see the logo is pretty reminiscent of the standard GI Joe logo. So that may be why it looks so similar. Is they may be trying to just keep the same logo as GI Joe's
Joe.
kind of always had.
Yeah, it looks like it's always had that kind of. If you just look up GI Joe logo, it's all
Yeah.
that italicized font.
Yeah.
Like,
G.I.
so it could be
Joe.
anything. But nevertheless, though, I'm looking forward to it more so than anything though because of Henry Golding. Like,
Yeah.
he was great. He was great in The Gentleman. If you haven't seen The Gentleman, go watch The Gentleman. He was in Crazy Rich Asians, and he was great in that movie. Like, he's just great. So, like, I'm glad they got a good actor to play him, and he's not just gonna be some nameless ninja dude. Because like that is something that we haven't really seen. It's a fresh take on the whole Snake Eyes thing for the most part. So I'm excited to see that. So, but the question is, guys, what do you think about this? Are you excited to see it once this video's up? It's going to be very odd because the trailer would have already been up, but we're recording this before the trailer's out. So you'll have to go in the comment section and let us know how good the trailer was when it comes out here yesterday. It came out yesterday. So tell us what you thought about the trailer down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our next topic does bring us into the world of DC, as I was kind of a misstep before. I knew there was a DC topic coming up here. So that's where my brain was at. So Margot Robbie is apparently been really pushing for Poison Ivy to be brought into the DCEU in her Harley Quinn movie universe here. So I think that this would totally work if you've been caught up at all or seen because I mean in the comic books, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy have definitely had their bouts. They've had collaborations numerous times, so like it's not like it's this off the wall or anything. But most recently in the HBO Max Harley Quinn animated series, which is really good. Like definitely go watch it. I need to get caught up on it. I only think I got through like half of the first season, and then I just stopped watching it. Kind of like Dark. I got John to watch Dark, and like I started watching it when it was in
Oh,
season
good.
1, and I just stopped watching it. Like I just need to go back. I've only watched a couple episodes of season 2, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. So I need to
Best
get
show
caught
I've
back up.
watched. Best show
liked
I've
it?
watched since God, I mean maybe like Breaking Bad. Like you gotta go back to Breaking Bad to find a show that was just, I mean, they're not similar in any way, shape, or form, but
Oh,
just
no.
production quality and storytelling and character development and just interesting. Like you just can't stop watching it. Like you got to know what happens. It's so good.
Yeah, I was
If
blown
you're,
away by season 1.
I'm gonna give a small spoiler for it here, but it involves time travel. If you're in any way, shape, or form ever been interested in the idea of time travel and how it affects things, and then like fate versus like how much influence you have over your destiny and whatnot, man, the show is just so good.
It's time travel
So-
done right, though. It's
Yes.
it's not like a time travel story, like, not to, like, knock on Back to the Future, but it's not like that.
Yeah.
It's not like Endgame kind of time travel. It's like, it's good. It's a drama series. I mean, it's very good. It's like a mystery,
So good.
thriller, time travel, drama extravaganza. It's very good.
Like it might be one of my top 5 TV shows of all time. I don't know. I finished it a week and a half ago, and every day I find myself thinking about it and like thinking about like, oh yeah, but what if could this have influenced that? What happened here? And so good.
I need to go back and I need to go finish it. You've got me more interested to go finish that now.
Haven't seen it.
There's a twist that happens at the end. There are twists that happen. Like I think people will like think about like Walking Dead when they used to like kill off characters and like how many twists they had, and other shows that have like, these are twists that are all done right. Like every few episodes, there's a twist. And it's not just a twist for the sake of having a twist. It actually, story wise, really makes sense that something would happen. But at the time, like you're like, what in the world is going on? Like it's just crazy.
They're
Like,
more revelatory.
yes,
Because it's like
yes,
something
but
happens and it makes it like connects a dot that happened
exactly
3 episodes ago.
There's a twist that happens at the end of season 2, I think, that you're like, well, of course that happened. And then at the end of season 3, you're like, or at the end of season 3, like the final episode, something happens and you're like, of course this is what's going on. Like it's just like your brain, it's just, oh man, I can't talk about it enough. It's so good.
Yeah, I definitely need. I'll probably start watching that again this week, honestly. So, and also though, back to the topic at hand, I need to get back to watching the Harley Quinn show. Did you guys
Yeah.
ever watch the Harley Quinn show
I have
on
not, no.
HBO?
I did. I love it.
Yeah.
Great show.
It's
Is it
fantastic.
animated?
It's animated.
That's what I
It's
thought.
like rated R. It's like
Yes.
South Park but Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
that's
Great
what it is.
great analogy. Yeah.
I mean, because it's hilarious.
It's not
like,
child appropriate.
No, but it's like,
No,
and
God, no.
it's not rated R for the sake of being rated R like the Birds of Prey movie was. Like it's purposeful rated R stuff. Like it's I mean it's more like rated R comedy driven more so than anything else. Like
Yeah.
the movie like the Margot Robbie Birds
If you-
of Prey movie was just rated R because they wanted to say fuck. Like
Yeah. If you have a psychopathic woman that runs around that chose the Joker to be her love interest and broke him out of, she's gonna have a certain humor bent, and she's gonna tell adult jokes and say adult words.
Mhm.
And so yeah, it makes sense that it's rated R. It's not,
yeah.
it's done so well. Yeah.
It fits the story, and it's really funny. Like because when it first came out, I was like, "Why are they doing this?" Like I don't know. What are we gonna do with a Harley Quinn? Because they had like recently prior to this show coming out, they had the like animated Batman movie, Batman and Harley Quinn,
Yeah.
and like it was fine, but that almost seemed like a Batman animated movie featuring Harley Quinn for the sake of having a Harley Quinn and Batman movie. It didn't really serve too much of a purpose. Like it was just like, yeah, Harley Quinn's hot right now, so let's just make a Batman movie featuring Harley Quinn. Let's just do it.
People like it because of Birds of Prey and
Yeah, like whatever.
Suicide Squad.
But like this came out though, and like I had those reservations for it, and I started watching it, and it kind of blew me away because, well, obviously not what we're talking about now, but the Harley Quinn animated show. Point being, Poison Ivy is like the main character alongside of Harley Quinn, and they have like a romantic relationship that ends up kind of budding, and it's just
Mm.
It's really good. So just
I
go
love
watch that.
Poison
And
Ivy.
yeah, and then based on like the influence of that show, I could see why Margot Robbie would be interested in wanting to kind of integrate some of that into her Harley Quinn character and like in the movies and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Plus, Poison Ivy's a cool character. Like most recently, what was that animated movie where she used her pheromones to manipulate Superman? Which one was that? Because that was like,
Hush,
was
Hush.
that in Hush, the most recent one?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, she did in the Hush comic book series, and I can't remember the movie because they did so much diversion from the actual storyline. But yeah, I'm
I
pretty sure
remember
it
it
was
from the
Hush.
movie. Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
remembering in my head. I
yeah,
knew it recently happened in one of the movies. I couldn't remember what the hell it was.
yeah.
But like, she's a cool character on her own, is what I was getting at with it. Like, she can do some cool shit.
Yeah, yeah, for
Like
sure.
Mhm.
when she's used right, she can do some really cool stuff. So I'd like to see Poison Ivy done right on screen in general. Like, cause like I love Uma Thurman and everything, but
Yeah.
blowing the pixie dust on people and the gorilla suit scene and
The
like,
gorilla suits.
like I don't know if it really did Poison Ivy any justice. So it's probably why we haven't seen her
Yeah.
ever since. So same goes for Mr. Freeze. I love Arnold, but probably why we
Kinda
haven't seen a live action Mr.
buried
Freeze.
that role.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would totally love to see a more, even if it does take influence from the show, because I imagine it would, given
Probably.
how popular the show is right now, and like they like Poison Ivy has a very integral role in that show with Harley. I would like to see that on screen. Like I think it'd be cool, and they could do some cool stuff with her nowadays too, just with the whole the CGI and the plants and the stuff. Man, I just remembered the scene from Batman and Robin where she like was kissing. She went to kiss Robin, and like he takes off the rubber
Like,
lips.
Plastic
Rubber
lips.
Yeah, just like rubber lips, whatever the line is, and it was just so stupid.
It was stupid.
That's so dumb. I love that movie though. I remember when I was a kid, I watched that shit all the time.
I was in Las Vegas when it came out, and I forced my parents to go watch it in a theater in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I had the poster for it.
I had
man.
the toys. I
Like,
had.
oh man, it was when you were like a little.
That was
when
cool
was
shit
come out?
back then.
Back in the day, like you were saying before, like in the 80s and 90s, like look at the comic book shit we had to deal with. But that's
Yeah.
all we had.
Thank you, Joel.
So it's
Schumacher.
like, okay, like I'll live with it. Like,
Yeah.
but whatever. I'm down for seeing this in live action though. Would you guys like to see a Poison Ivy and a Harley Quinn team up kind of movie though?
I absolutely would.
I think it'd be cool.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot of potential.
I mean, yeah, in a day and age when like DC is trying to, for lack of a better word, like be inclusive and like diversify their characters and the content they're putting out. I mean, this is a LGBTQ character that they could
I like it.
bring into a very popular franchise, or very at least tie in with a very popular character right now in Harley Quinn, and it would make perfect sense. It wouldn't be them, doing anything that hasn't been established before. It wouldn't be them like just pulling something out of their hat just to, do it because it's trendy to do right now. This is something that's been established in the comics. It's been established in previous media. It makes perfect sense to do. And the fans are, I think in general, most of the fans are behind it and would want to see something like this. So it seems like just kind of like well, duh, of course you do it. And so why she is having to fight Warner Brothers for this. Again, we come up against a decision that Warner Brothers is making that just baffles it baffles
What's
you.
new
You
there,
just go,
though?
what are you? Yeah, exactly. What are you guys thinking? But yeah, so yeah, I definitely am all for this, and hopefully she's able to convince them.
Yeah, and to your point too, it doesn't only have some narrative purpose because of like the previous iterations in the comics and on the show and everything. It actually would serve narrative purpose with Harley Quinn, like how she was set up, her arc in Birds of Prey. Like she's no longer
Yeah.
with the Joker, all this
Yep.
stuff happens, and then she runs into Poison
Yeah,
Ivy,
meets
and the
Poison Ivy
relationship
and-
kindles. You know what I mean? Like
It blooms.
yeah,
It blooms.
it blooms.
Go for
There
the
we
go
go.
for the
There we
yeah.
go.
They go for the joke. It blooms.
Yeah, I
or
should
pun.
Balloons,
have
Go
went
for
with
the
the pun.
pun.
Yeah,
I didn't catch that. That's good.
yeah. But the relationship blossoms into something
There
else.
you
Grows
go.
like a
Yeah.
vine.
Yeah, so I mean, it serves a purpose. Like it wouldn't be like
Yeah.
you said, it wouldn't be random, and it wouldn't be like
No.
an inclusive cash grab kind of thing. Like it actually would make sense
Yeah.
for the movie and everything.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm all for
Sure.
it.
And you have Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn as an established character. You don't need to do backstory on
Mhm.
her. So you'd be able to bring Pamela Isley in, and you'd be able to do kind of a introduction and origin story for her character, and not have the movie get bogged down in origin stories or origin information. You could have it be, an element of the movie and not, overtake the movie.
Yeah, that'd be great. I hope it happens. Like I know,
Yeah.
I hope it happens because like you kind of said, like I don't see why she's struggling to convince anybody. Just make it happen. Just,
Right.
My fear,
just
my
do it.
fear is that the previous the Harley Quinn, the Birds of Prey movie. I'm afraid that not doing as well as I think people had hoped or Warner Brothers had hoped, will make it harder for her to get this done. But that being said, all it takes is a good turnout from Suicide Squad for them to want to get right back to making Harley Quinn movies. And
yeah,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
I think maybe one of the things that hurt Birds of Prey was kind of the packed cast that they were trying to introduce in that movie. They introduced a lot of characters in the movie that weren't well known before, although it's been handled in other movies okay. But if you just introduce one, if you're just going with Ivy, then that may work a little better.
yeah. Inevitably, it was just the writing that was the problem, and that like just the whole plot. And there was a lot
Yeah.
of stuff going on. Honestly, they
Yeah.
had the Birds of Prey themselves, and Black Mass was just kind of thrown in there. Like
Mhm.
it was a lot of stuff going
Ewan
on.
McGregor was good in that
He
role.
was like, yeah. Like he was, I liked that. Like that's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like that's just something that like we'll probably never see again, unfortunately, too. Just
I
because
know.
it just, I don't, it
Yeah.
just didn't. I don't know. It was good, and it was like it was a different take on him, and I liked it. He was really
Yeah.
living it up. Like
Oh yeah,
I liked
definitely.
it. It was good. So, question is, guys, what do you think about this? Would you like to see the Poison Ivy Harley Quinn team up movie in live action? I think it pretty much writes itself. So, and I do agree with John here. All it takes is just some good positive reception from us, the fans, from James Gunn's Suicide Squad, coming out here to get more interest in them wanting to do more Harley Quinn stuff. Because I think we can all agree the problem with Birds of Prey was not Harley Quinn at all. I think everybody unanimously loves Margot Robbie in the role. So I don't think anyone would complain about her returning as Harley Quinn. So we just got to get, for whatever reason, we got to get the suits at WB on board with it. So if for anything else, I know we're all going to go support the Suicide Squad anyway. So we just do it for this potential Harley Quinn Poison Ivy movie, okay? So we'll let us know what you think down in the comment section below. All right, guys, so our next topic completely takes us out of the superhero stuff, so we're not that inundated with it here on the show either. So this one, though, has to do with some casting announcements for Knives Out 2. So recently, we talked about on the show a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, when the news came out. Netflix paid, what was it, $460 some odd million for the rights to Knives Out 2 and 3. Ryan Johnson's hit Knives Out, the murder mystery show, very akin to the old Agatha Christie novels and all that stuff, which is a very good movie. It had a great cast. You had Chris Evans in there. You had little Don Johnson, and you had some good stuff in there. What's her, goddamn, what's her name? The Michael Myers. Why can't I think of her? Jamie Lee Curtis was in there. Came to me finally. I loved the film. It was really good. And so I was happy to hear. I mean, it got nominated for Oscars. I think did it win Best Screenplay or something? I can't remember. I know it was nominated for Oscars at the very least. So it was very good. Very much a prestige play by Netflix to pay out the ass for these movies. Like,
Right. That's a lot of
this
money.
is a lot of money. Like, and like it came out too shortly afterward that like Ryan Johnson gets to keep all the money essentially. Like him and Daniel Craig pretty much got all the money. And remember, John, we were talking about this. We kind of theorized that. I mean, I said they're probably going to double the budget. They paid like 40 million. Now they're probably going to do like 80 million each. That's apparently like exactly what's happening. Like him and Daniel Craig essentially both got like 200 million. which was like the 400 million, and then they're using the rest to make the movies. Like some
Wow.
crazy shit like that. Like that's where the money came from, which is
Yeah.
crazy. Like we're in the wrong line of work.
There's $200 million.
Yeah, wrong line of fucking work. No one should. I mean, quite frankly, it's a bit ridiculous how much money any actor gets paid. Like, not any actor, like
It's
a lot of the,
ridiculous.
you know what I mean? Like a couple $1 million to go do 6 weeks of work.
Right.
Like, sign me up in all honesty. Like, I wouldn't be hating if it was me, but it's an
Cool if I could
absurd
pull
amount of
$1
money no
million.
matter how you look at it.
Yeah.
Absurd amount of money. Nevertheless, though, let's talk about the topic at hand here. So we have some pretty great casting news so far. We got Catherine Hahn being the latest addition to the cast of Knives Out 2. And then we also had, most recently, just before this came out, Dave Bautista joined, Janelle Monáe, and Edward Norton. So this cast is just growing.
Stacked.
Speaking of Poison Ivy, like it's growing like a weed, man. And this is actually, it's looking good so far. I'm very happy to see Edward Norton coming back. He really hasn't been in much since he did Motherless Brooklyn recently. Didn't catch that, but then I think like most recently before that, it was Birdman. Like he hasn't been in a lot of stuff. He was kind of notoriously like became kind of like hard to work with.
I've heard that.
So, and that kind of started around the time he was in Incredible Hulk, and that was one of the reasons. Had something to do with like the direction he wanted to go with the character. Didn't go with what Kevin Feige wanted to do with the character more so than anything. I also, since speaking of Hulk, they're in like a kind of odd situation with the Hulk because of the whole Paramount owning the rights for the distribution of those movies, so they can't really even make a Hulk movie on its own. So there's probably a whole lot more into it than that, because I'm sure Edward Norton, being Edward Norton, wanted to make some standalone Hulk stuff, and Marvel probably wasn't too keen on that because then they got to give all the money to freaking, all the box office money essentially that would come from that would go to Paramount. It wouldn't go to Marvel. So that's why Hulk just shows up in other movies, like
Right.
if you didn't know. So, but what do you guys think of this cast? I think it's shaping up great. Did you guys, Rick? I don't even know. Did you even see Lights Out or not Lights Out? Knives Out rather. Lights Out was also a good movie. But did you ever see Knives Out?
I did not. But after discussing it, it sounds like something I should check out.
If you like murder
Great
mystery
movie.
kind of stuff, yeah, go.
Is it
go
on
check
any
it.
streaming services?
It's on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. No.
I think it's on Netflix
I could check it out.
because they bought the rights to it. I don't know, like, so they own the rights to the sequels. So I'm sure they inevitably will have the rights for. No, it was on Netflix at one point already. Now that I'm thinking about it, I remember seeing it on Netflix before, so it should be there still.
I'll check it out.
It should be there.
Check it out. It sounds
Yeah.
good. I don't like Ryan Johnson, but the movie sounds good.
No. You don't like Last Jedi.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay,
That's
like Ryan Johnson is a great filmmaker.
Yeah,
He's not a great
left a bad
Star
taste in
Wars
my mouth.
filmmaker,
No.
but like Looper was great. Like this movie was great. Like he's a great. He did a lot of episodes, maybe not a lot, but I know he did an episode or two of Breaking Bad, which were like really good episodes. Do you remember the one? Because you were talking about Breaking Bad earlier, John. You remember the one with called The Fly?
Oh yeah, definitely. Where they're
That was
stuck
written
in
and directed by
the
Ryan
cook
Johnson.
room. Yeah.
Written and directed
Yeah.
by Ryan Johnson.
Oh yeah.
Great
Yeah.
episode.
No,
All character. Like,
So yeah, I mean Ryan Johnson, like Knives Out was great. He's a good filmmaker. He's just not a good Star Wars guy. Like I understand he loves the series and I understand what he was trying to do with Last Jedi. But that was not the time or place or the characters to do that with.
100%.
Like I'm all for like the people that love Last Jedi, at least from what I garner, love the fact that we've dovetailed or we've split off into
I shouldn't have
another
brought it up.
topic here. But people that love Last Jedi like love the idea, the concept, or that anybody can be a Jedi, that it's not just the Skywalker family, that anybody and there's a place for everybody, and like yeah, great story. Like I'm totally on board with that. Show the little kid that's sweeping the thing use force powers. Of course that makes sense. The force doesn't pick users, doesn't pick a certain family. You don't have to come from a certain place to be that. But don't make Luke into a curmudgeon old hermit in the process. Like you don't have to tear down Luke Skywalker and the OT characters just to do it. But anyway, that little divergence aside, I'm excited for this. I mean, it's a great cast. I think that it's very clear, since we don't see anybody on this cast list from the original Knives Out, that this is really going to be a set of movies that don't necessarily tie in together. I can't imagine that anything that happened in Knives Out 1, besides maybe Daniel Craig's character makes an offhand comment about a kid that tried to kill his dad or something, or killed his dad in the previous one or something. I don't know. Maybe
Right.
maybe there's some. Sorry, I just realized I'm kind of throwing out spoilers, and we just
Oh,
got done
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about Rick hasn't seen it, so I'll
That's
try and
not-
be
It's all
vague.
good.
He's
I don't
not
mind
paying
sp-
attention.
I
He
don't
don't know
mind
what the hell you're
spoilers.
talking
I was
about.
paying
That-
attention,
that-
but
You don't know what he's talking
That's
about.
fine.
yeah, I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, you're
So anyway, I don't think but I like that idea. I like that they're gonna make a set of movies that will kind of
an anthology of
be
sorts
yeah
centered
you'll be
around
able to
Daniel
just
Craig.
you'll be able to just watch them and have a good fun movie. Like you don't have to, everything doesn't have to be franchised and continue after each other. It'll be more like a James Bond before James Bond became serialized to a certain
Starring
extent.
James Bond.
Yeah.
Starring James Bond. Wow, yeah, definitely.
If anything, though, it's worth watching, Rick, just to hear Daniel Craig do a Southern accent.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
That would
Like,
be interesting for
It's
sure.
the goofiest. Honestly, I don't think it was the right choice. It's not that it's bad. It actually is it's good.
weird.
It's just weird coming out of him the whole time.
Right.
And it really is how I always say, we're going to talk about Bad Batch here in a minute, the third episode, but I keep saying that Omega has the thickest
New Zealand.
Zealand accent,
Yeah.
and I love
Omega.
it. I love it. I don't love the Daniel Craig Southern accent, but to be fair, no offense to anybody out there from the South, I hate Southern accents altogether.
Y'all.
It's just no offense again, but it's people didn't learn how to say the words, and that's what it became. That's the accent. It's they just didn't know how to say it.
It's just like an
Right.
easy way of talking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's so y'all are illiterate. All right.
Like, cross your eyes.
That's what it
It's like,
sounds like to me.
I
Not that I'm
trucks.
saying y'all are. I'm just saying that's what it sounds like, because it's they're just not being pronounced right. It's not an accent. It's not a dialect. They're just not being pronounced correctly. That's all it is.
I reckon.
And people say I'm from I hate it too, because we live in Ohio, and people like to say that we're in the country. Dude, I'm not in the country. Okay, I'm not.
We live 20 minutes from a major city.
Yeah, we're not in the country. We're not all redneck hick kind of people. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I got
I don't
plenty
know,
of
we're
family
out
members
here-
who own farms and stuff.
We're out
It's
here in
fine.
Atavia.
I get it. I am associated with it, but we all don't talk like this around here.
Oh, you should hear the people I work with.
No, I know it's so
It's
weird
rough.
when it happens, because it's when did we get in Louisiana? The South ain't that. The South is far away.
Dude, my manager
Like,
sounds like
So
Boohar.
weird. It's
I'm
man, I
not even
love King
joking.
of the Hill, dude. It's so good.
Yeah.
So good. I feel like we offended a lot of people here, but I got
I literally was thinking that same
I
thing.
live
I'm
in
sorry.
it. It's not like I'm talking offhand about random people. I'm a part of it. Okay. I am literally, this is a first-hand account. It's not some random thing. All right. So just know that. It's just annoying. It's just annoying. But anyway, I'm excited. Did you like his accent in the movie, by the way?
Oh yeah.
You like it?
No, I thought I thought it was great.
It's fine. It's just it's weird
I don't
seeing him
I
do
mean,
it.
yeah, I don't people say I have an accent coming from Ohio.
And people say I have an accent.
There's a Midwestern way of talking that people consider to be an accent too.
I guess
so
normal.
I'm sure
is-
people have I still remember my fiance, I called I guess I called Coca-Cola or Pepsi. I called it Pop one day, and she was like, "Pop? What are you talking
That
about?"
is a Midwestern thing.
I
I
say
was
pop
like,
all the
"Eh,
time.
I want a pop. I'm gonna go get a pop." And she's like, "What's a pop?" I'm like,
Dude, I do not believe that she had never heard that before.
She gave me crap.
My
about it.
ex
She
used to
was
give me
like-
crap for saying pop.
So I mean,
Knowing that your
there are
fiance is
things
my
I'm-
sister-in-law, I do
Yeah,
not
yeah.
I'm married to her sister, and I've never got shit for. They grew up in Hillsboro.
Hillsborough.
They lived in this accent.
Well, I don't know. We're
Yeah,
out here in Batavia.
yeah.
She had to have heard
Yeah,
pop before. I don't buy
I don't
that.
know, man. I don't know, but yeah, people say I have an accent, so I don't know. It is what it is, but I
Yeah,
liked it. I thought I like Daniel Craig's attempt at it. I don't know.
no,
I
he
can't
did
do
it well.
I
It
can't
was
do
good.
accents for crap. Like I can't do even basic accents. So like I try it and I just get marble mouthed. So
Mhm.
like I don't. People that can pull it off even to some sort of degree, I'm impressed with. So
Yeah, all I can really do is that kind of accent.
I can do all kinds of
That's
accents.
about it. That's all I can really do.
I can do all kinds.
yeah.
I can do a good Hank Hill every once in a while, but it's kind of in the same vein as that. So like, I'll tell you what.
Damn it, Bobby.
Oh boy,
Propane and propane
Boy!
accessories.
That's about it. But yeah, speaking of the movie, I'm very excited for it because I love like these kind of things, these kind of murder mystery movies, and just any kind of story like that. I love thrillers, love mysteries in
think-
general.
Do you think Catherine Hahn, since that is the primary one, the primary announcement this article was in reference to, do you think that her casting is directly from her role on WandaVision, or do you think they had her in mind prior to this?
1000%. Because Catherine Hahn's been around for a while, like long time,
Oh yeah, definitely.
like long. But like, it's
WandaVision
weird
set
to
her off.
think. Yeah, exactly. It's weird to think that someone who's been around for so long, that was kind of her big break for
Breakout.
global exposure. Because like,
Sure.
no one really knew who Catherine Hahn was prior.
I
Like,
didn't.
It wasn't like exactly. It wasn't a Scarlett Johansson.
She was
kinda
that
name.
woman who played that character that was good in that movie.
Exactly.
But you can't say exactly who it was and what movie. Like every
Mhm.
time you saw her, she was good in it, but she didn't have that, breakout
Exactly.
role, like you said.
Yeah, because I think it all kind of started with Bad Moms. Actually, like she was great in
Okay.
those movies, and then those for what they were pretty good. Like, and then WandaVision just kind of, I mean, that became the #1 show in the world. So, like, talk about global exposure. So, I definitely think there is a correlation. Like, and there's definitely some cause and effect here.
So here's the other part. Knives Out being a murder mystery series. Do they lean into it? And was it Agatha all along? Do they make her the killer, or is that just too obvious and there's no way they can make her the killer?
I think that's
Well,
too
here's
obvious.
something that might spoil this, okay? Because this is something I'm sorry if this does spoil the movie or movies going forward for anybody, but here's a fun fact that Ryan Johnson stated in an interview after the first Knives Out movie came out. So he said that working with Apple, like iPhones and stuff, if they are not, like Apple does not allow you to use like an iPhone
The bad guy,
by a
the
bad
bad
guy.
guy. Yes.
They can't have it.
That's fine.
So if you can kind of spoil the movie in some ways if you look and see if some people have iPhones or not. So the obvious fix is to just not have them. But if they pay for
iPhone's
product
scary.
placement, there's no way around it. You're going to have iPhones
that
in
was-
the movie.
That was a whole thing with Sharon Carter on Falcon and
was.
or Captain America and Winter Soldier was Sharon Carter didn't use an iPhone, and so that was people were saying, "Oh, I knew she was the power broker, or the power broker's a bad person because she's not using an iPhone."
It's true.
It won't spoil anything for me because I'm so wrapped up in the story of movies and what's going. My brain isn't going. What does the spine of that book say in the background? Oh, what's the logo on that phone? Like, unless for some reason it's a plot point that they're using an iPhone, like I'm not going to be looking at the phone to find out what brand
Right.
it is. And so, yeah.
It is something you have to be like cognizant of going into it because I can
Sure.
assure you, even though I have essentially known about that since that interview with Ryan Johnson, which was like 2 or 3 years ago at this point,
Yeah.
I haven't thought about it one single time as I'm watching any other movie. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not something I
And
keep
if you
readily
are,
available.
if you're like, I can't think of watching a movie that way. If you're somebody that's
Yeah, it's
watching a movie thinking about the outside world and like the rules that Apple has for their products, you're not letting yourself become immersed in the movie and get lost in the story of what's going on. So I find that that's a totally alien concept or alien way of watching a movie to me. I'm not even sure how you would do that or enjoy the movie in that. But I'm sure there are people that do it, and more power to them if that's the way you enjoy doing it.
Oh yeah.
You do you, but that's just not. I get so wrapped up in the story that I
That's
don't
like
think
it.
about that.
People like anymore just like they just it's like they need to know everything.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they don't want to just like experience it. They need to know it. Like
Right.
it's like let's do it now. Like get it now. Like
People want it now.
yeah, exactly. We live
Instant
it
gratification.
exactly. Yeah, it's instant gratification, and we live in a very like if it's not a 10, like if it's not a 10 out of 10, it sucks. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like was it the best thing ever?
It's either
It's like
great or it's horrible.
yeah, exactly. There's no in between anymore. Like there's not like 7 out of 10. Like people think it's a bad movie if you gave it a rating of 7 out of 10. It's like no, that means it was
Pretty
almost
good.
perfect. Like yeah,
It's like a B.
yeah, it's like it's good. Like it's like oh, well, you gave it a 7 out of 10 though. It's like yeah,
It had its flaws, but it was good.
Yeah.
I would have taken a 7 out of 10 on my grades in high school any day of the week.
yeah,
So,
exactly. It's
yeah.
weird, and it's a weird thing too. Like it's kind of off topic, but that's like one of the reasons I don't like rating systems because like everyone has their own definition for it.
Sure.
Like, it's like, if I say it's a 7
Subjective.
out of 10 to someone else, that means I hated the movie. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
no, like, just because I don't go around giving everything a 10, like, I mean,
Well, and you have
10s
those
are hard
people
to achieve.
you also have those people who say they'll never give anything a 10 because it's impossible for anything to be
Exactly.
perfect. And it's like, well, I mean, okay, but still.
Like those professors who will never give out an A plus because
An
it's
A plus,
impossible.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
wanker. Like, God. Like, Jesus Christ.
Get over
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, like, okay. Like, there's
Did
a
you
close
hand
enough.
back every A plus you got throughout your entire academic career?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I always thought like in that situation, if you're put in that situation where like you're in tears after reading this thing, just because of your code, to quote Jupiter's legacy, you can't give this paper an A, like because you just can't give them one. Like yeah, it's a stupid rule to have, man. Like
Yeah.
there's exceptions. You gotta make exceptions to these rules sometimes, but nevertheless, we're all excited for Knives Out too. I think we can all safely say so. I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely.
The question is, guys, what do you think about this? And this is like we didn't comment on it too much because we went on a couple tangents here, but the cast in general is it's shaping out well. We mentioned it off the top. We got Ed Norton, Janelle Monáe, Dave Bautista, Daniel Craig obviously returning, and now Catherine Hahn. So I'm excited to see who else. If anything else, it's great just to have like a movie like this and like the first Knives Out, where it's just a conglomerate of really talented actors just making a movie. Because like anymore, like John said, it's like everything's got to be a franchise this, franchise that, or like whatever. And it's like, so you don't really get a lot of these like super talented people to come in because I mean they're all expensive. They all charge too much damn money for their time. In all honesty, that's a part of it. But it's just nice to see a group of like super talented people come together and make just a fun little murder mystery movie. So I'm excited. Let us know what you think down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our final topic here, we're going to give a brief spoiler warning here because we're going to be talking the Bad Batch episode 3. Now, in my opinion, there's not really a whole lot to spoil because it's a prequel, and it really depends on how much, like, really what you consider a spoiler, man. Like, 'cause I don't know, I haven't found anything really spoilery at all throughout the entire series so far on the 3 episodes. Like, what
No.
would you say about that, Rig? Do you think there's anything
Yeah.
that's like mind-bogglingly spoiler?
You know what's going on. It's like post Clone Wars. It's like when the Empire's forming. I think I mentioned last week or something. It's interesting to see how the Empire kind of starts out from like a seed and grows into what it is. But yeah, there's really not much like to spoil. I mean, it's just a story, you know.
Right, yeah, and that's we were talking about this on stream, which again, like, unfortunately, you guys won't see because I had to take it down. Not for any bad thing, but like I said off the top, we had audio problems that we didn't
issues.
really know about throughout the whole thing, unfortunately. So, nevertheless, I think Matt is the show, in my opinion, it's like its biggest potential is to actually explore the Empire rising stuff, like the rise of the Empire.
Yeah, you're seeing it from like the transition from clones to like I'm sure we'll see eventually in the show stormtroopers, and like in this episode, you know, you see those like super clones or they're not clones, they're wearing clone armor, black clone armor, but they're just people. you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of showing you the transition from like the clones, which are these amazing, efficient killing machines, to just random people.
Yeah, and that was my biggest gripe with this too. So if you're not familiar with what's been going on here, like in episode 2, Tarkin shows up to the Camino base where they make, or Camino planet where they make the clones. And he's coming there. This makes no goddamn sense to me. Like, I'm sorry, but it's like, it's one of those things that like I was mentioning on stream to go back to something you can't watch. So I guess it's a good thing I want to reiterate it. My biggest complaint with like Clone Wars, the show itself, and then just like it's just there's logic problems. There's
Yeah.
just things that happen just for the sake of like, well, we need them to do it for some reason, or
Yeah,
they
this has
need
got
to
to
get
look
there.
cool or
Yeah,
whatever.
like whatever it is, and it's like Tarkin shows up here on Camino, questioning the validity of the clones, and like, is it worth their time? Are they worth their money? And it's like, dude, for one, y'all are the Empire, you make the currency.
Right.
Like, literally in
That's
episode 2, you have the clone guy who's trying to leave the planet, and, like, they're trying to get him and his family off this other planet. And they go to use their Republic credits, and they say, like, Republic credits aren't good here anymore, you need to get it converted to, Imperial currency.
Yeah.
So it's like, you literally make the money, for one. So there's no amount of money that it should be a problem here when you're
You
the
built
people
the fucking Death Star.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. You end up building 2 Death Stars, for
2,
Christ's sake,
yeah.
and all these freaking
Star
Star Destroyers. Like,
Destroyers.
it's insane.
The Executor, yeah.
Yeah, so they come here like questioning whether the clones are worth their time and money, and if they're efficient and all this stuff. And it's like, dude, you just use them to take down the Republic.
Right. Like,
You use
that
them.
answers your questions right there.
Yeah, it's like, you what do you
And
mean?
the Jedi, like,
Exactly. You literally use these clones to take down the Jedi Order. Like, and they did it efficiently. Like,
yeah,
they
did a good
literally
job.
did. So it's like, it's just a logic problem, in my opinion, where it's like, and I don't know if it's really them to blame, because, or if it's kind of George Lucas to blame for introducing the clones, because they do have to explain why the stormtroopers weren't clones in some way, right?
Yeah.
Like, they have to explain the transition. So, like,
Doing a weird job at doing that, though.
I get why they have to try to do it, but I think they're coming at it from a wrong way. I think they should have had something happen to where Camino gets blown up.
Yeah, where it's like,
like
they physically cannot have
Yeah,
clones
like,
anymore.
exactly. Because they even mentioned that at the end of the episode, we're jumping around a little bit, but towards the end of the episode, because that the Empire is now looking to not use the clones, the Prime Minister on Camino is worried that they're going to lose their job, essentially, right? Because like, their job is to make the clones. If no one wants the clones anymore, they're going to be out of a paycheck, essentially, in the most easiest way to explain it.
Yeah.
And so they go to, and like, he makes the comment that like, Jango Fett's genetic material is running low. They don't really have enough to produce like super clones. That's what they kind of want to do. I'm getting the vibe that they want to make more clones that are reminiscent to the Bad Batch,
Yeah.
like superior beings in some capacity
Over the regs.
over the regs, but they don't have enough genetic material from Jango to do that. So in
Can't
the
really
end,
just like hit them up either.
yeah, right. They can't really do that. So they made the insinuation, at least, so they're just gonna take one of the regs and just use his genetic material to repurpose it. So I'm sure that's gonna cause conflict, though, with the clones. I don't know if it will, though, because of the inhibitor chips. So like, I don't know where they're really going with that, because like, the
Yeah.
clones shouldn't really care since they're all programmed with those chips. Like, they wouldn't even really know someone was missing if you made them not know. You know what I mean? That's the other thing they kind of play fast and loose with, is like, how much does the inhibitor chip actually influence them? Like, how much free will do they still have?
Right.
You know, that they play that kind of fast and loose in all reality. So
I would agree.
I'm curious to see where they go with that. And I think the greatest strength, again, is going to be actually diving more into the rise of the Empire. But elsewise, I say that because honestly, after these 3 episodes, we still don't really know where the show's going.
No.
Like, it's following the Bad Batch. They kind of set up a little bit that the core group of characters here, minus Crosshair, they state that they miss Crosshair. So like,
Yeah.
it seems like they're setting
He's the
up.
brother.
Yeah, exactly. So it seems like they're setting up for them to go and retrieve Crosshair and take the inhibitor chip out and etc.
Well, and you see in this episode too, like when Crosshair shows back up at the barracks that the Bad Batch used to use, but now he's with these other soldiers. He's kind of looking around and he's seeing like the stuff on the wall and all that, and you can tell he's kind of like, damn, like maybe I do kind of miss these
He
guys.
looks sad.
Yeah, there he is. That's a perfect
Yeah,
example. Yeah,
like he goes in and you see that they're at least insinuating that he is actually having some internal conflict.
yeah.
But again, that comes back to the question, well, how much influence do these inhibitor chips have?
Right.
Because they were able to crank his up to 11 essentially to get him to turn on them, you
Right.
know, to follow orders or whatever.
Good soldiers follow orders.
But speaking of which, he's brutal.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
But two, that proves my point about the clones being super efficient at what they do. They go out here with this squad of people, which this is another good point too, before I get too far ahead. This like elite squad of regular people who are now would be stormtroopers, right? They go in there and one of the guys say that the Empire has given him more than the Republic ever has. Like he has essentially a job, roof over his head, food to eat, whatever, and that was more than the Republic ever had did for him. So they give you some insight as to why someone would join the Empire, but they also show you that they do have their own internal conflict with the actions of the Empire, because when they get sent, this crew of regular people here, they get sent out to Saw Gerrera's encampment that you
Yep.
previously saw. And they wanted to see, like Tarkin wanted to see if these regular folk led by Crosshair would finish the job. And
Yeah, it was kind of like a test form, more
Yeah.
or less.
so, but when they get there, that same guy who said, the Empire was great, like they did
Yeah, he's
more
just like,
more
"Hell
for me,
yeah."
whatever. But they go there, and Crosshair is like gonna kill them all because his whole thing is like, good soldiers follow orders, whatever.
And the guy even says he's just like, we're not. What did he say? Like assassins or something?
Yeah, he says like, like these are civilians. Like I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up to be an assassin or something along those lines. Like showing that
a dark episode.
it is kind of dark, but it
Mhm.
proves my point in that scene that the clones are superior.
Yeah,
Like with the inhibitor chips, they follow the orders. Like
right.
with those inhibitors, like think about it. The inhibitor chips in Order 66 literally made they touched on this in the first episode. When Order 66 happened, all of the clones who had fought side by side with all the Jedi turned on them on a dime.
Oh, like within seconds.
Yeah, as soon as Order 66 happened, boom, they start killing Jedi. So with these regular soldiers, though, they have free will.
Yeah.
There's nothing making them like carry out
They
orders.
don't have brain implants that are forcing them to do things.
Yeah, exactly. So
I just noticed too, Crosshair got a new helmet.
he did. Yeah, but it's the same kind he had before.
Yeah, it just didn't have that little round eye thing.
Yeah. So it just didn't have his crosshair.
Yeah.
That was the only thing. But yeah, it's because I noticed the same thing too. I was like, because I'm expecting the same thing that you were kind of talking about before. Like we're gonna see a slow evolution of the armor into stormtroopers.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
think-
you saw that from phase 1 clone troopers to phase 2. It's like slowly kind of morphing into the.
Right, and you see it with this crew of people, like the mouth plate and everything, and like the little they look much more like stormtroopers here.
Yeah, they
Then-
still have the single visor versus the separate eyes.
Yeah, that's the only real difference here at this point. And then they're kind of playing with it a little bit too, because like Crosshair has one single. He doesn't have like the nose, so his
Yeah.
is like the
But
first.
I like his new
division.
helmet. I think it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks good. Trying to get it back on camera here, but he has like a Boba Fett, like a little like scope visor that comes down to
Yeah, the rangefinder.
a rangefinder. There we go. I can't even find it.
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah, it for whatever reason won't show. It's right there.
There.
There we go. It's just the one single slit.
That looks very stormtrooper.
Very, very stormtroopery looking for sure. But
yeah.
nevertheless, it completely just proves like the logic gap problem where like obviously the clones are better suited to be your army.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
so it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it's
Expensive,
just-
yes, but
Yeah, it's like-
efficient, absolutely.
And y'all make the money.
Print more.
Yeah, just do it, man. It's ridiculous. But anyway, Where do you see like the show going though? Like because like I said, with the actual Bad Batch crew, I guess we could touch on that for a minute. You actually get to see like you brought something up here that it was very reminiscent to episode 2 of Mandalorian.
Yes.
So you brought that up because talk about that real quick, and then I'll bring my point up into it.
Ship malfunctions, land on random planet, crazy monsters on random planet. Got to figure a way to fix the ship, figure out a way to fix the ship, and it's kind of the same sort of thing. I mean, obviously with different characters, but the concept I think is pretty similar.
It's a similar setup. The setup's the same.
Yeah, there's
the
a
intro-
monster, and
Yeah, but the difference is Baby Yoda caused the chaos.
yeah, none of that would have happened if he wouldn't fuck with those eggs.
He was eating the eggs and stuff. So he caused the chaos, but in this one, the young person actually saves the day.
Yeah, Omega, comes to
Like,
the rescue.
Omega actually
through.
like gets the energy canister thing they needed
The
to repair the
capacitor.
ship, the capacitor. Yeah, that she got it. Like so, it's like is a nice dichotomy there, and it actually shows. I like that they're making her useful and not just being some like annoying little kid around. And I actually do really appreciate the fact that no one's giving her a hard time.
No.
Like everybody on
It's
the
a
ship,
kid.
everybody on the ship that could just be like your classic begrudgingly like, oh, just stay on the ship. Like we can't have you get hurt. Like, but they're like, you're your own person. You want to come
You're
with
part
us?
of the squad.
That's fine. Like, let's do it. Just stay close. I like that because they could just take an easy way out, making her just like annoying like kid or whatever, and like they do. They're kind of mean to her, but in like from a good place mean to her, like they don't want her to get hurt kind of thing, but they're
Yeah.
just like, nah, like you can come, dude, do whatever.
It'll be interesting to see if she gets like her own set of armor and stuff.
Yeah. Like I said too, like she grabs that box of Crosshair's armor, and I just assumed she was gonna like at least take his gun or something.
Helmet or
Yeah. And that was the other thing I brought up too, is like why were they wearing these little face mask things and not just their helmets?
Yeah,
I don't understand why they did that. Because they've shown in other episodes of like Clone Wars,
I think 'cause
that they can use the helmets in space.
You want to see though that they have like emotion and like I don't know something like that. I think is why because the helmet
That's
it's
a
like on the
good point.
Mandalorian. It's just a helmet.
Yeah, but they do a great job of showing emotion with
They do.
Mando.
They do.
They do a great job with that. But not everybody could do it.
Yeah.
But that's probably a good point. Just having their face being visible would, I guess, prove useful to some degree.
Yeah.
But anyway, surprisingly, I've actually been like really enjoying the show.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Like,
I didn't think I would like it as much as I do actually.
Yeah, I really had no expectations for it, which is probably helping. Like, because I didn't have any.
Yeah, you
like,
weren't going in like this better be good.
Yeah, I had no desire for it to be good or bad. I was just like, okay, I'll watch it because it's Star Wars.
Right.
I'll give it a shot, and mainly too because I've said this numerous times now. Like that final season of Clone Wars that came out on Disney Plus, I was actually quite surprised with how good their CG environments got.
Yeah.
Because I've never been a big fan of the character design of like the Clone Wars and Rebels and all this stuff. But I will say, it looks better in this than it ever has.
It really does.
For the character models, they don't look as cartoony, all boxy. They still have that same look to them, but
it's better.
It's way better. Like they look like I can tell that's Tarkin.
Right.
Like it looks good. And then like the Bad Batch folks, like they actually like they look completely different.
They do.
Like surprisingly, they even made them look like drastically different than the regs do, even though they're the same face.
Yeah.
Like
right.
they did a good job stepping up their game with the character models. But
right.
Again, what really made me like want to watch it was just because the environments, they look incredible.
Yeah.
Like this little landscapes that they're in, like that is like top tier animation. Like
Yeah.
it looks great.
It really does. There's scenes like when they show him flying through space, especially where it just looks like part of a live action show almost.
Yeah, no, it really does. Like it looks really good, and especially like when they're on a planet that has like a bunch of water or snow or trees and stuff. Like that shit looks.
The first episode looked great. Like
Yeah.
that first planet they were on.
It looks amazing.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched it, I definitely say go watch it. So John, you haven't watched it yet. So what are your vibes here? Like what are you picking up from what we're putting down here? Making you want to watch it anymore? Where are you at with it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Yes.
You guys. I'm glad to hear that you guys are enjoying it. That makes me, I guess, eager to get to it. Um, it's just, again, it's finding the time. Do you feel it's geared more towards just a general Star Wars audience, or do you feel that it's more geared towards a younger audience, like for kids? Is it intended for kids with just things that adult Star Wars fans can enjoy? Or is it more because my impression of Clone Wars was that, and again, I'm working my way through that series, was that in the beginning, Clone Wars was really intended as like a kid's show. There's a lot of one-off episodes that don't play into an overarching narrative because kids don't pick up on overarching narratives throughout multiple episodes. But then Clone Wars kind of developed over time into a more, geared towards adult or at least older Star Wars viewers. So what's your read on that?
It's definitely geared. They know their audience.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not geared.
brutal.
It's not geared towards kids at all.
It's brutal. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really not. Nothing
Okay.
in any of the episodes I once thought like this was like
too
childish or too
childish,
kid
yeah.
friendly or anything. Like it actually is. Like Rick said, like there's some brutal stuff. Like
That
the
scene where, like, with the clones or the soldiers and the rebels, where they have to kill them, and
they straight assassinate people.
that's
Like
Yeah.
and you see it happen. Like they straight like Crosshair killed the guy who refused
Just
to
shot
kill
him.
them. Just
Yeah.
shot him point blank. Then like
Yeah.
it all happens. Like it's quite brutal. Like and it really is. Like it's definitely not. It's definitely. I know you haven't got to it yet, but it's much more the final season of Clone Wars, like Ahsoka and Maul. Those 4 episodes, like
Yeah.
they definitely know their audience. Like because like granted, when the show first came out, it was obviously oriented for kids, and George Lucas has always made Star Wars for kids, so it's
Sure.
always going to have that element to it. But again, they know their audience. Like
Yeah.
they know that the
Mhm.
kids aren't the ones watching this. It's a
Well, and
bunch
there's a
of
different
30-year-old
there's
men
also
like us.
yeah, there's also a difference between writing a show for kids and then
Kid
writing a
friendly.
show that's just kiddish. Like it's
Mhm.
just like, I think Pixar kind of was one of the first companies to really catch on to the fact that you can make a show for kids, but make it enjoyable for adults as well. So
Yeah, like a family film, a true family-oriented thing. Like there's stuff
Yeah.
for kids, there's stuff for adults.
Sure.
I would say the show qualifies for that. If anything, it's more adult so far than most of Clone
But then you got, like, the
was.
soft moments with Omega and, like, getting her own room, and there was a couple soft moments in the other episodes with her that kinda, like, lightens the mood a little bit, I would say.
But I think that
Okay.
kind of stuff though hits more emotionally for adults than it would for
Yeah,
kids.
because you understand, you're like, "Oh, this kid's never had, like, a
Yeah.
family," or yeah.
So I think that's actually more in there for the adults almost, I would think.
Yeah.
Like oddly
Okay.
enough. So I would definitely you wouldn't have to worry about that. At least so far, these first 3 episodes, and like I said, the first episode being like an hour long and then the next 2 being a half hour. We're at like feature film length of content. And it's
Sure.
all been good. Like there hasn't this episode you could see someone calling it a filler-ish episode, but it really wasn't. There was character building for Crosshair and for Omega, like
Right.
heavy character building, and then even some more overarching plot stuff with Tarkin and the Prime Minister Kamino.
Right.
So like there's actually a lot wrapped into it for a filler-esque episode.
Do we know how long this first season is?
I
Is
do
it
not know offhand.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can see
13?
if
Is it
it's
22 episodes?
I can see if it's been announced because I am
Oh, sure.
curious.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, like, if I don't get my act together and get to watching it, like, how am I going to be able to just binge the whole season in a few weeks, or is it one of these things where I'm going to have like a full 22 episode thing to try and
Right.
catch up on later on,
I'm trying
which is
to
a
see.
daunting task.
Oh, I know. That's why one of the reasons I never wanted to go back and like watch Clone Wars to completion. Because like I
Yeah.
always tuned in for like once Maul became a thing, I watched it. Like
Yeah.
I watched all these key moments, but then I never like sat through and watched it to completion because like whenever I tried to do that, there were a lot of episodes I was just like, this
Right.
isn't
Yeah,
very good.
you kind of zone out and start doing other stuff sometimes. I've
Mhm.
noticed, at least for me. But with season 2, it got much better, and I'm really enjoying season 2 so far. But like, I mean, God, we talked about earlier in the show, but I watched that show Dark, which were hour-long episodes. In the past couple weeks, I watched that show Dark, and then I watched Invincible. I got caught up on that. I'm trying to think of what else. I've watched a couple of movies.
16
Like it's
episodes.
just
They really buried this in this
16.
article. 16 episodes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just saw that.
No,
yeah,
you're good.
Like literally, like but look at this. This is so annoying. I hate when websites do this. Like the freaking headline is how many episodes in total, and they have this broken down. Like here's this, and then you go through this, and you're like, okay, more, and then oh, there it is, finally.
Yeah.
Like Jesus
Okay.
Christ, dude, and it's lead with that.
You're right. Spill the
Yeah,
beans.
So 16 episodes, and they're all like averaging. If you take out the first one, they're like 30 minutes long. So
Yeah.
maybe like 25 with credits. So
Yeah.
like typical animated fare for the most part, but they have been a little bit longer than your typical like 22 minutes, I would say. So,
Right. Right.
but yeah, highly
It's nice that
recommend
they're
it.
letting. It's nice that they're letting them. They're not. I mean, it used to be 22 because you had 8 minutes of commercials you had to fit in there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and it's nice that since they don't have the commercials, since it's on the streaming platform, they're letting the storytellers have that extra time back to.
Yeah,
Right.
and it
Tell their
flows a
story if
lot
they
better
want it.
too.
It does.
Yeah.
Because
It
they don't
does.
have those random breaks that they have to. Because a lot of time they had to write the story to like to accommodate these
Around,
ad
sure.
breaks. Like, and it's like God.
Yeah.
I'm so
Sure.
glad we're past that stuff nowadays. Like,
Yeah.
like, at least with this kind of content. So, but nevertheless, we're gonna call it here, guys. So, Rick, where can everybody find you online?
You can follow me on Instagram at Sir Rick Metz. I haven't been using it a ton lately, but I'll try to update it a little.
There you go, John. Where can everybody find you online, sir?
I'm over at Nightwing_K on Instagram and Twitter, and so I'll have a. Oh, I got a freeze there.
It was
I have
brief.
some stuff up. Yeah, it was brief. It's not like the old. I'm hoping the days of Mr. Freeze are long gone.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Right.
But yeah, come over and check me out there. Let me know what you. Let me know when if I start watching Bad Batch like immediately. You can come tell me I'm an idiot for not having started it yet.
Yeah, I don't think we're quite there yet, but it could happen soon. If something crazy happens, I'll be the first to tell you for sure. Like, dude, you gotta
Okay.
watch it. But
Right.
nevertheless, right now, I would highly recommend it for anybody who is a fan of Clone Wars or Rebels, because so far, I've been kind of more impressed with it out of the gate than I was with either of those shows.
Yeah.
Just out, for the first 3 episode wise, this is far superior, like 100%. So, nevertheless, you can follow me simply at Sir Rob Bifo here, and do not forget that's on every Twitter or whatever. I don't really use them all that often, but I've been trying to use the gram a little bit more. So
You have. You have.
I've been trying, mainly just to promote the show, and that's really the only reason I have any of them anymore. Is just to try to get it out there. Try to get it out there to all you folks, whatever. But speaking of which, you can submit topics and questions to the show here by emailing us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. Do not forget that this show is every Monday. So like and subscribe to go find it on the podcast form of choice. If you need to catch it on the audio format every once in a while because you can't have YouTube open, go subscribe to the podcast. Just search Honest and Uneducated on Spotify, wherever. It's all there. Then every Wednesday, our collectible reviews go up there. So as I said off the top of the show, Kylo Ren Force Awakens was the one I did recently. So that's on the channel now. And again, that's every Wednesday that those drop. So stay tuned for another one coming out here in like 2 days. So, but with that down, that'll do it for us here today, guys. So thank you all for watching. Again, like and subscribe, do all that sorts of fun stuff. But until next time, take care.